All right, we are live. Sorry about that, folks. We were just chatting backstage with Big Al. Welcome to another episode of 10 Horse Monty YouTube channel. Tuesday night live. We got a big show tonight. We're going to be highlighting the NPFL anglers. The first tournament of the 2024 season is coming up at the end of actually in a couple of days. They're practicing right now on Logan Martin, and Al reached out to me last week and said, hey man, let's do a big NPFL show and let's highlight some of these anglers that are out there hitting that tournament scene. So Al, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight. We just wrapped up practice down here at Logan Martin. We're in Oxford, Alabama. So they either figured it out in the last 3 days or they're SOL. Everybody out there can figure out what SOL stands for, but we're looking forward to a great start to the 2024 season.
So the NPFL, this is your fourth season, is that right?
That's correct.
Fourth season. So talk a little bit about the NPFL and how the concept, the ideal, and how that was birthed.
So you got to go back about 4 years or 5 years now. 2019, there was the rumblings Major League Fishing might purchase FLW. I think that happened in the early stages of 2019. So started talking around and just trying to find out some information. And knowing that was going on, whether the FLW Tour would still be around, if it would be bought, if it would be kept kind of in the mix. And then you've got, places like the Toyota Series, the BFLs, you got your local tournaments also. There's a lot of anglers that are looking to step up to that next level and see if they've got what it takes on that professional level. So, you looked at the elites, you looked at the FLW Tour, you're talking about 100, about another 125, that's 225. Then you had Major League Fishing with about 100 guys, so 325 spots in that professional realm, so to speak. Well, you looked at a lot of hammers that were inside the Toyota Series, like I said, the BFLs, the Opens, and these guys were looking for an opportunity. So kind of put pen to paper in the spring of 2019. Then I met with my good friends Brad and Michelle Fuller in October at the Big Bass Bash in 2019 and said, hey, look, I've got this down on paper. What do you guys think? Brad Fuller, I've known him for about 7 years at that time, and Michelle, they had purchased Omega Custom Tackle. They were a big sponsor of the Big Bass Bash and Anglers in Action. Always liked Brad, great guy, great leader, a veteran of 25 years with the United States Air Force. We had some steaks. He cooked them pretty well that night. We had some bourbon. We had some vodka. And next thing we know, we announced, I think a month later, that in a year or in 14 months, we would launch the NPFL. And here we are starting our fourth season in 2024 down in Oxford, Alabama.
There's a lot of good ideals that were inspired by
steak, bourbon, and vodka.
Yeah, gentlemen's drinks and a steak.
100%. 100%.
I remember the day that you guys announced that. I was sitting around on social media and I think myself, just like a lot of other folks, were like, "Yeah, this is what we need, another fishing trail." Or is it? We're 14 months away. Yeah, right. I mean, it's 14 months away. It's a year and a couple months away. What's going to come of this? Is this true? Is it not true? And then bam, fast forward 4 years ago now.
Still up and running. It's getting stronger and stronger. You had last year you had, I believe, 75 anglers and you're still paying out $100,000 per derby. This year, I mean, it's like, what do you have, like 127, I think? We've got
126 in the field. We had a goal of 130. Almost got there, but looking where we were in 2023 to 2024, look, you're almost doubling the field there. Evidently, we're putting a product together that people like. Anglers want to come over. Look, it's professional bass fishing, but I tell everybody this is like playing baseball in the 1910s or 1920s. You made minimal money over there on the baseball field, and then you had a regular job like everybody else. Well, that's what professional bass fishing is. So, look, getting back to what JB said, why? Of course, you're going to be a naysayer. Hey, do we need another tournament trail? Lots of pressure, this, that. There's no way that this is going to come about. We launched it down there in Eufaula, Alabama for our first tournament. We had a good season, had a hiccup at the very end, almost, lost the circuit. And then we climbed out of that hole. And the second year, the third year, we just got stronger and stronger. And as you can see, as far as what you see on social media, what you see as far as angler participation, the good vibes just keep coming. And look, we work hard. We understand our customers are our anglers and our fans, and of course our sponsors. And as long as we keep those in front of us and work hard, and we got a great staff. It's a skeleton staff, but man, everybody does 2 or 3 jobs to make sure that the experience for the anglers, for their families, and the fans that watch us on the live streaming is the best can be.
Yeah, you've done a great job, because there's been a lot of anglers that have come through the first couple seasons that were unfamiliar to most people as far as on the tournament scene, and now they're pretty common names. I mean, I think of Sukup, and I think of Keith Carson, Go. There's several out there that were just, I don't want to say they were nobodies, but they definitely weren't somebody that I'd heard of, and now it seems like they're household names. So there's definitely a reputation for the NPFL building names. You guys have done a good job on the live streaming. I know that's quite an endeavor in itself, covering all those anglers and stuff. And it's really, you guys have really created a good product. Now, one thing I really like about the NPFL is it's different than a lot of the other circuits that are out there. And the way it's different is everybody fishes 3 days. I really like that. And then the schedule is really spread out. It's not crammed on top of each other. And you also do the drive-through weigh-ins. So those 3 things right there kind of set it apart from the other circuits. How did that all come about? Obviously you had some discussions on how you want to set the tournament, the way the tournament's run, the drive-through weigh-in and stuff. Was that your idea, or how do things like that happen?
Yeah, so let's get back to the first part of your statement there, talking about the John Sokups, guys, Keith Carsons. They were known regionally, but nobody knew them nationally. Well, we gave them a platform. That's when I talk about the BFLs, the Toyotas, the Bass Opens. Guys tended to stay in their division and all that stuff, and they were great anglers, but there wasn't a spot for them to move up. Well, the NPFL has put a John Sokup out there nationally, a Keith Carson nationally. You look at somebody like a Timmy Reams or a Trent Palmer, these individuals from West Virginia and Georgia. We are creating the new pros for people to follow. You've got a lot of great ones over in the elites and MLF and Tackle Warehouse and all that stuff, but we've given a platform for now people to be fans of these various anglers that we've basically given an opportunity and a stage and a platform for them to come out there and show them skills nationally. Getting back to the logistics of how running the tournament was, so when I was kind of doing the due diligence in 2019, that springtime there, I called probably, 200 anglers that were in that elite FLW Tour circuits, and just started talking to them. Hey, what are good things about the professional circuits and what are bad things? And kind of just put all the notes together, et cetera, et cetera. Then I had a conversation with Brad Paul and talked about, hey, 3 days, is it possible for us to logistically to do a drive-in or a drive-through, I should say, weigh-in based on how long it'll take, et cetera, et cetera. And we put the numbers together and said, look, we can make this work for ourselves that will kind of separate us from the other circuits out there. And then the other bonus that comes with the drive-through weigh-in is the fact that the anglers are able to spotlight their sponsors on their trucks and their boats when they come across, not only just on their jersey, but, all the kids out there. I'm even a big fan. When you see a wrap truck, a wrap boat, man, you can't help but gaze at it. Well, now we give the opportunity for those anglers when they come across to weigh in their fish, to drive that rig up there, and they can show off all their sponsors that, look, let's be honest, without those sponsors, those anglers, a lot of them, they aren't going to do this because it's a heavy investment. When you talk about entry fees and logistics, you're looking at $50,000, $60,000, depending on how frugal you are. So that's a huge investment. They need those sponsors. Getting back to the schedule, one of the beauties behind our schedule is you're looking at 2 spring events, 2 summer events, 2 fall events. It really, truly determines who the best angler is throughout the year when you have those 3 styles of fishing that take place from your early jerkbait bite to your deep cranking to top water, of course, year round and all that stuff. And then when you get into that fall season there with that mixed bag. But Todd Goad last year winning the Progressive Angler of the Year, you get to see the skill set for all seasons of fishing outside of winter, of course. And truly, that's what I think separates an individual if they can handle all different phases when it becomes an AOI instead of the constant sight fishing and pre-spawn or post-spawn fishing and all that stuff. So we've got some variables that makes the NPFL very, very unique. And proof is in the pudding with the anglers. Look who has come over from the other circuits, and people have thrown their hats in the ring to come and experience and fish for big time money.
What I like about the NPFL is that you guys aren't trying to compete with the MLF guys, and you're not trying to compete with the Bass Elite guys. Like, you want a standalone tournament trail that doesn't conflict as best as you can. There's only so many weekends in a year. 100%. I get that, but try to compete for your anglers to have another platform to showcase their sponsors, to showcase their skills and their abilities, and to make a better living. I mean, I was just listening on the way over here. I was listening to Burge, who's fishing with you guys this year. Yeah. He was on Ike Live, and he was talking about if he could fish all 3 trails, they would. And I think there's a lot more anglers out there that would fish all 3 just for the simple fact that they love the competition. They love the gambling aspect of it, to go out and put themselves up against the best in the nation. So
it's high stakes gambling.
It is absolutely.
Yeah, you're with Doyle Brunson, man. Texas No Limit Room now.
Absolutely.
It's hey, all the other trails and all that stuff below what the NPFLs, as far as that AAA and AA of baseball, so to speak. You got your investment there at 1,700, and you're fishing for 50,000, whatever. But you get in here, you got skill sets from coast to coast. You got big money up there. You got to put up big money. It's a gamble. It's a complete gamble when you come in. Regardless if you're spending $200 on an entry fee or $5,000 on an entry fee, it's still gambling.
Oh, and it's all relative, right? Like you said it best with the $200. I mean, how many derbies do we all fish locally for $100 to $200 for a single day event? And we all wish that. And most of us, if it was feasible for me and my family, it would be a no-brainer. I'd be out there. I told my buddy last year would have been the season to fish NPFL, right? Like 78 guys. Yeah, fishing for 100,000. Like, I'll take those odds every day.
Absolutely.
But it's the fear for me at least is jumping in, right? Like, not that I have the skill set or any of that, but just the sheer fear of giving up a steady job and a family and all the things. Like, I can't do that personally. So
the nice thing about it, getting part there with the schedule part, is look, a lot of our anglers own businesses. Some of them are retired. They've got about another 5-6 years to compete professionally on a tour. Like I said, a lot of entrepreneurs, where we spread it out to where, not January to say June, you're popping 6 or 9 tournaments in that 5-month window. Here you can have your event. We usually like to at least have 4 weeks, if not 6 weeks between events. That way you can attend to family issues and your business and not be gone, 3 or 4 weeks in the first 3 months of the year, which it's hard to run a business even when you're there. But if you're gone that frequently, and the NPFL gives guys that are, they got their own plumbing business, their own electrical business, landscaping, mortgage companies, insurance companies, this gets them away with that gap between events to where they can manage it properly.
Well, here, and the one thing that we haven't talked about, I saw somebody made a comment about this. There's no qualification process of fishing a full season of tournaments to qualify for the trail, correct?
As of right now, correct.
Right. Now there's an application process where you guys vet your anglers, make sure that they're the right fit for the organization. But yes, it's pay your money and go fish as of today.
Right. So the process as far as vetting the anglers and having conversations with them because there's an important mold that goes to the NPFL as far as individuals. Look, all the accolades, the trophies, the monies you won and all that stuff, very, very important. We definitely want to put the best anglers out there for production value, et cetera, make the competition as stiff as possible. But there's also character that goes in that. And the president of the NPFL, Brad Fuller, he has those conversations with all of these anglers. He gets to know them very personally and understands what we're looking for as far as bringing somebody in. Look, you've got 126 different personalities and all that stuff, but there is a common core to all 126 of those anglers that fish with us.
Right.
Hey, okay, so we got Brock. He's been
speaking of a personality.
Brock's been in the queue in there for a while, so we're gonna bring him in, and he's gonna join the conversation. Okay. You can hang out as long as you want, for sure. I
am gonna let Brock take over here. He's got a lot to say. He's one of our new anglers up there. We're excited to have him. I don't want to steal the spotlight, not that I do anyway, but have it all for Brock.
Okay. Great job tonight, and we do want you to come back on sometime and do a full
anytime, guys. Anytime, just let me know.
We got a lot to dive into at a later date. So thanks for hanging out with us and setting all this up, and good luck in the first tournament, man.
JB, appreciate it, boys.
I will see you at Lake of the Ozarks later on in the year.
Sounds good, brother.
Okay. See you guys.
All right, let's bring Brock in. Brock, you good? Thumbs up if you're ready. 2 thumbs up. He is super ready.
Ready to go.
What's going on, brother? How are you?
What's going on?
Nothing, dude. Just hanging out with Big Al, man. I was like, you get Big Al on here and you start talking, and next thing you know, you could definitely go for 2 hours talking to him.
Absolutely.
He's got a lot of history, with the anglers in action, and then now the NPFL. He's a master behind the microphone. So, yeah, I saw you back there, and I'm like, okay, let's try to get over. We got to keep this moving. It's the first time we've done this many anglers in such a short period of time.
I gotta have. I'm on the clock, and it's like, okay, we gotta wrap this one up. Let's go.
So, I had a question as I was talking to Al. I forgot to ask him, but so you're doing how many days of practice do you have before this event?
So we have 3 days of practice, off day, and then tournament starts.
Okay, so the tournament starts Thursday?
Yeah,
Thursday.
So do you enjoy the off day?
So my tournament history is college fishing and BFLs and, some regional Bassmaster stuff. So I've never really had, I've only fished 2 tournaments that had an off day, but so I'm looking forward to it tomorrow just because, number one, I have time to do all my tackle, run to the grocery store, grab food for the rest of the week, clean up the boat. And one thing I'm doing tomorrow is I'm going to go talk to high school anglers at Big Time Entertainment in Oxford. So that's one thing NPFL does that is, something different that I'm looking to do on the off day.
So they set up some opportunities for the anglers to go speak at the local high schools and things like that, or? Yeah,
so I think there's three different, they call them community outreaches that they set up, and then anglers, say like, hey, I want to do that one, and then they'll send 3 to 5 guys. I don't know the exact number, but they'll send a couple of anglers to those community outreaches to get the community involved in the tournament.
So talk a little bit about the NPFL. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there. You could have chased the opens. You could have jumped in the the Toyota Series and the invitationals and that kind of thing. Why did you decide to fish the NPFLs?
Yeah, so this was a huge deal for me personally. Many conversations about this. Like you guys were talking, having. And Big Al talking about those regional anglers making it to that national level. The main reason why I chose NPFL is because I think it's so easy to get lost inside of the opens because it is a grind for the opens. I mean, everybody sees that it's out of all those anglers, there's only, a handful, 10 guys that make it from there. Not necessarily make it to the elites, but get the publicity to make fishing as a long-term career. And my personal goal is to make fishing as a a long-term dream and career. And I think NPFL kind of sets that up to build my name up. Maybe not be the fastest way, but I'm able to grind and build my name up to hopefully make that step and, take fishing to the next level.
Well, and the payouts are a heck of a lot better in the NPFL than they are in the Opens as well. I mean, you can essentially finish in the top 20 in the Opens and never cut a check. So
yeah, and just personally, I don't fish for the money. That's just my view on it. Fishing is just a dream of mine, just like anybody. All of ours is a dream. The money's definitely a important factor of it, but I just love the competition and trying to make the most of it.
Absolutely.
So what are some, I was looking at the schedule besides Lake of the Ozarks, obviously coming up at the end of the year. Are there any of the other lakes you have history on, anything that you got a little check mark by that you're looking forward to fishing? And then maybe there's one or two that maybe have some bad history or you're not so excited about.
So I have history on every lake other than Logan and St. John's. So Lake of the Ozarks is definitely the most starred one on the schedule. I promise you that. Pickwick Lake would probably be next because I've fished there 4 or 5 times, and in the 2 college national championships, I finished 2nd and 3rd in 2 separate tournaments out of 250 boats there in relatively the same time. One of them was probably 15 to 20 days earlier than we're going to be there, and then the other one was probably 15 to 20 days after than when NPFL is going to be there. But that's another one that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. So Logan Martin, I don't want to get too much into it, but is it making sense to you? I mean, it's a new lake. What do you kind of do when you're showing up on a new body of water? How are you breaking things down?
Yeah, so through college, I learned that the most efficient way for me personally to break down a body of water is, number one, break it into sections, which on Logan Martin, it's a fairly small lake compared to a lot of the other places we're going to. And I actually pre-practiced here basically the first week of January, and I was able to cut down those sections of lakes a lot faster. So when I went down here, the water was clean. The normal bites that historically happen here were happening. It was, not clockwork, but it was pretty easy. And I'm sure there's been rain across the country for 7 days straight, basically last week. And it's switched up the lake a lot. The watercolor has went extremely murky on the main river, but then the backs of creeks, mid-lake to the lower end have cleared up towards the back. So the bite has slowly gotten better. And I think if that water does ever make it to the point of cleaning up all the way, then the weights will be pretty good. But from what I've heard, the weights are, it's not fishing too great, but there's definitely fish being caught.
Did you say what the water temps were yet?
I have not. So it's depending on the section, I've found 45-ish, and then some sections I've seen like 49 to 50 at the very tail end of the day.
So that's on the lower end of the water temp spectrum, probably for that area.
I was going to say, that's what I imagine. They had that massive cold front that just rolled through there too, so they're probably colder than normal this time of the year, I would imagine.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it normally doesn't get, obviously it normally doesn't get that 14 degrees like they did during the ABT last week.
Right.
And, these fish aren't used to getting that low water temperature. But today it was like 62 degrees when we finished up practice and, high sun. So it's definitely warming up, and I think it'll get back to where it's supposed to be. But it's if the fish can, if the fish work out to get used to that water temp and then start biting a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of Florida strain in that lake, I would imagine. And they don't like cold fronts for sure.
No,
a little weird.
I will say these Coosa River spots are really fun.
They are.
They're awesome to catch. I've only had one other experience on the Coosa River, which was on Lay Lake in like July or August last year, and that's a whole other animal that time of year. But definitely in the winter, these fish are awesome.
Was it Neely that we were in?
Yeah, Neely Henry. We got to fish Neely Henry in a regional. It was a while back, but yeah,
those spots were
fun.
That was in the fall, and man, they were. If you got on the right stretch, they were just chewing.
Yeah, there was a funny deal. So I brought with NPFL, you're allowed to bring like a sponsor or family relative to pre-practice with or practice. So I brought one of my sponsors, Travis, with me earlier in the month to pre-fish, and I was like hyping him up for all these Coosa River spots, like getting all excited. And he didn't really catch a lot. But he finally hooked into one. Well, he set the hook and he was like, oh, maybe. No, I think it's a piece of brush because he was throwing a rock crawler. Reels it up. And it's like a, 16, 17-inch spot, like on with current and everything, just dead coming in. And then right when it gets next to the boat, makes a dig and he just flips it in the boat. And he was like, what do you mean? I thought they fight hard. I was like, yeah, that's part of it.
That's funny.
That's not typical with those spots.
Normally they dog you, but
usually that 12, 13-incher feels like a 3-pounder from back home at least.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, and you get that current rolling on them, like it's insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Got a few questions that I wrote down here. So we're going to have you back on sometime down the road and just do like a full live stream we can really dive into some stuff. And but for this, we're just going to ask a few questions and keep it halfway short. But so talk a little bit about like some of your confidence baits, like your strong suit. Are you a power fisherman, finesse? You mix it up, or what's your feel on how you attack these fish?
Yeah. So my overall confidence, I don't really have lures that I'm very confident in. But my style is like a shallow offshore. So I feel like a lot of guys categorize like it's either offshore fishing or shallow fishing. There is no in between. And through what I fish, I've learned that when I'm targeting that in the middle stuff where it's shallower and you're still using, the square bills and the typical stuff that guys throw shallow, but you're offshore off the bank. That's harder to find on side scan and live scope. That's where that's my deal. That's where I can really go at it.
Yeah, you're right. Those are things that you have to put your time in. You gotta, some of that stuff pops on a map, especially with the way the mapping is nowadays. It's gotten progressively better, but there's still, to be able to find those things, you got to A, put in the time, and B, know what you're looking at to find the possibilities. And then sometimes you just luck into stuff. Sometimes it's just like you're just eating a sandwich, idling around, and you're like, oh, where did that come from? That's not on the map. Put about 5 blue dots on there and go back and check it out.
And no joke, like in pre-practice, I was scanning, found something, stopped, turned around on it, started fishing. I was like, this is nothing. Sat back down, pulled a sandwich, funny enough, out of the box, cranked the big motor, started idling, eating the sandwich. And I looked, I was like, look at that. Pulled off, boom, 3.5 pounder, Mark.
Nice.
That's the honest truth with the shallow offshore stuff, because it's difficult to see on side imaging in live scope what you're looking at versus, when you're in like 15, 20 foot of water, it's a lot easier to see what you're looking at. But
so what was the sandwich of choice? I got to know.
Ooh, it was honestly a croissant from Costco that was old that we need to use, and ham and cheese.
Nice.
Fair enough.
That was the sandwich of choice.
So we talk a little bit about fishing. What's the go-to boat snack for Brock?
Ooh, gushers all day.
Gushers.
Mm-hmm.
I got kids, so I'm a fruit snack guy. So
okay.
Fruit snacks and goldfish are my boat snack. It's just because they're easy. They're readily available at our house. But gushers is a new one. I'm gonna have to try that one out.
They're good. Although in the winter they freeze, but
yeah, they just last longer that way.
True. That's a good point.
I'm always eating like usually just protein bars. I always have a bunch of protein bars, and I just throw those in there.
You're just too healthy.
I mean, honestly, the protein bars that I get taste like a dang candy bar. I mean, they got 15 to 20 grams of protein, but they're not
get?
like
Curiosity.
What's that?
What protein bars do you get?
Well, they're some I get from Sam's. They're made by like Robert Irvine's. It's like a baked 7-layer, 5-layer protein bar.
They're not bad. I've had a couple of them.
Yeah, they're actually really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, the protein bars from back in the day were like chewing on sand or clay. They were real, especially if you get one they're trying to put too much protein.
Mm-hmm.
You get a protein bar that's got 40 grams of protein. Good luck. It's going to take you like an hour to chew it. It's just dry.
And 3 gallons of water.
But if you get some of those, those lighter 15 gram, 20 gram protein bars, they taste more like a candy bar. They put some nuts in there and a little bit of chocolate on the outside, and they fill you up. Yeah, Stephanie's talking about protein drinks. That's another thing I usually throw in the bow. But I've been eating like ham, just a couple pieces of ham and some cheese.
See, both snacks are more important than like forward.
Well, my dog likes ham and cheese, so she sits next to me while I'm fishing, and I'll slide her a couple. Yeah, she loves it,
and she doesn't eat much.
Yeah, so. And I'm proud of her today because I went out today, and it was 43. The wind was blowing about 20 miles an hour, and it was overcast. It was cold, and she stood out there like a champ. She even got up on the front deck when I was running down the lake multiple times and just ate the wind. She loved it.
Well, considering we just got off of like the Arctic blast, that 43 to her probably felt like.
Yeah, but she's an inside dog.
Yeah, so, true. Yeah. But
she's got her little sweater, and she was.
Did you have her sweater on today?
Yeah, she likes that little puppy sweater. First time we got that little sweater, I'm like, I'm never gonna put my dog in one of those stupid sweaters, But
here we go.
It just happened. It's a natural progression.
You got like a tournament jersey for her, patches everywhere.
No, I don't even have a tournament jersey.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
I should get her a little Baitworks doggy sweater or something.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I have to reach out to them and tell them to get their butts in gear and make some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So home lake of the Ozarks, right? Stephanie was asking, how long have you been fishing tournaments and including local tournaments?
So when I was I started youth fishing back in Kansas when I was 11, 12 years old. And then from there, we always had tournaments on Lake the Ozarks. I mean, a lot of them were in Kansas. But then once I turned 16, my mom let me travel and fish the Kansas Buddy Bass Trail. And they loved Lake the Ozarks, so we always went there. And it just happened to work out. Even though I go down to school at Drury and Table Rock is only like 45 minutes away, my girlfriend actually has a lake house on Lake the Ozarks, and I would rather fish on Lake the Ozarks than Table Rock. But I've been, I fished Lake the Ozarks for, ever since I was 11 years old, basically.
Yeah, Lake of the Ozarks, man,
it's fun.
It's a cool lake.
So many different bites that happen compared to other places where you're kind of restricted to 2 or 3 or whatnot. But
there is, because you've got the shallow thing, the docks, the backs of docks, the sides of docks, the fronts of docks, and then you got the brush that's around the docks. So you can just fish brush or docks, and then you can get out and every cove has got brush piles out in the middle of it, and then you've got the bluffs, and then you got points, and you got bluff ends, and you've got the rivers. You can run way up to the backs of the rivers if you want to get away from the crowd, and it does have a lot to offer. And I mean, Table Rock's got the same kind of stuff, but you might be fishing at 15 foot of visibility. Typically, actually, other than this year, it's usually Lake of the Ozarks is usually like 3 foot of visibility, but this year is pretty dang clear, for the most part. I saw like 5 and 6 foot of visibility. It was pretty common down like through the summer and into the fall at Lake of the Ozarks.
Right. I was on there the day before I came down here filming with Austin Culberson, actually.
Okay.
I noticed I've never seen the water like that in the winter, but it has that like green film, like that green hue to it wherever we were or on the lower end. And I was like, never seen that before. But
so are you fishing? What else are you going to fish besides the NPFL this year?
So I have the full Ozark BFLs. I got the Bass Nation regional tournament on the Arkansas River. And then I'm fishing 2 or 3 World Fishing Tour events.
Wow. You got a pretty busy schedule then.
Yeah, it's awesome with the NPFL schedule because you guys were talking about that with Big Al, how spread out it is. I mean,
yeah,
we have this first one at the end of January and then the next one's in May. So I have, a ton that in my entire spring I can fill up with tournaments. So I'm fishing some AIAs with my old college partner.
Okay.
So all on Lake the Ozarks.
Gotcha. Yeah.
When is your off limits start, or is there an off limits for the NPFL?
So there's 2 different like stages of off limits. It's so number 1, no information rule starting January 1st for all the lakes, but you can fish all the lakes up until 30 days prior with anybody. But once you hit 30 days, between 20 and 30, it's like a restricted practice. So you have to be with a sponsor, a camera guy, family member of that sort. And then from 20 days on, it's off limits.
So no conflicts though?
No. Yeah. No conflicts, luckily.
Because you got what? Lake of the Ozarks, October, right?
Yeah. October, I think it's 27th through or at end of October.
26th, right?
Oh.
Is that right? Lake of the Ozarks, 20th through 26th.
Yeah.
Well, we have wrote down here. I'm not sure.
Right. So that would be right. The 24th, 5th, and 6th would actually be Derby Day.
Yeah.
Practice. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So what do you think about the NPFL like this year? The new anglers, not new anglers, the anglers from other tournament circuits that have jumped in. It's pretty cool, huh? I mean, I know it's stiff competition, but you still got to catch them regardless of who's in the Derby. But I was just looking at a lot of the names, and they're well recognized names. But that's got to be kind of cool, bumping elbows with all those guys.
So we had our meeting after the day 1 of practice, and I'm excited to fish the NPFL. It's awesome, but I haven't got in my head, right? Because I'm trying to stay mentally in it, and I had my camera guy with me going into the meeting, and it was really funny because I walked in and I see Patrick Walters, Kyle Welcher, and Drew Cook sitting there, and I'm like, huh. Nice.
I got it. Real, right?
Yeah, I was like, okay, here we are. This looks about right. But yeah, it's gonna be, Kyle Welcher, Angler of the Year Bassmaster. That's what we're fishing against this year. So it's incredible to number 1 be on a platform to fish against that skill. But it'll be interesting. If I take a step back looking at the entire field, it'll be interesting to see how certain guys compete, against the caliber of anglers, right? You see Patrick Walters last year, I don't know how many he won, but he won a couple of events. Mm-hmm. But, just seeing those compared to these other anglers is something I'm looking forward to seeing.
Well, so would you rather fish against Patrick on a national circuit, or would you rather fish against the Hibdons on your home pond? I mean, you got either way. It's not like you were fishing a BFL circuit that's easy.
Yeah, when you're fishing like the Ozarks against the Hibdons, you're basically fishing for second.
Right?
Arguably the same with Patrick, but I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that one.
You got good training ground is what I'm getting at. I wouldn't be nervous going into those. Somebody's got to win. Might as well be you, right?
Why not? Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what league you fish nowadays. The competition's just progressively gotten better, and you've got to, it's cliche, but it's so true. You got to fish against the fish. I mean, it doesn't matter who's in the Derby. You still got to catch them. Somebody's always going to catch them. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times I've been in a tournament and I'm on them really good, or I'm not. To me, like a day when I'm not catching them, I'm like, it's really, really tough. Weights are going to be low. And then you come to the weigh-in, somebody's got like 23 pounds. And then somebody's got 22 pounds. Somebody's got 21 pounds. And you got 12 pounds. And you're struggling all day long.
Yeah, there was 7 bags over 20, and the rest of it.
It doesn't matter what circuit it is. People are going to catch them. So you just gotta catch them. That's just the way it is.
Every day, somebody's going to catch them.
Right. Exactly. Well, we got Stephanie in the queue, so I want to ask you one more question before we wrap this up, and also want to say good luck, man. We'll be paying attention and pulling for you. Some advice for someone that's wanting to fish tournaments. I know that's a broad, general question, but there's people out there that a lot of people that watch these shows don't watch our live stream don't actually fish tournaments, but I know some of them have thought about it. I get the question quite often about fishing as a co-angler in the BFLs, how to get involved, or there's people that have fished local derbies or club tournaments out of the front of the boat and they're wanting to move up to the next level. What's some advice you could give somebody that's thinking about making a jump to actually fishing tournaments?
I know it sounds simple, but my advice is just do it. Just register for the tournament because you want to. Register for it because there's too many times that I see anglers, or not necessarily anglers, just guys and people, not like they're like hesitant about jumping into a tournament and they just don't register and they end up not doing it. And just once you're doing it, like say you're wanting to jump into Coza's BFL, register for that first Table Rock BFL, and then depending how you want to do it, really dive in and focus on, you're not just going fishing. Like if you want to go tournament fishing, you're going tournament fishing, right? I think there's there's some guys that do it for just a weekend away, which is fine. There's definitely a place for that, and that's the majority of guys. But if you're going to tournament fish, go all in.
It's good, solid advice.
Absolutely.
It's good, solid advice, because what happens is you keep putting it off, and 5 years have gone by and 10 years have gone by, and next thing you know, you just, it's like everything else, it just kind of fades away. So that's good. That's good advice. Just jump in and learn on the fly. Very, very rarely does somebody come out and have like a stellar first year or second year or third year. It's a development thing. It's time management, putting yourself in that process and learning how to adjust on the fly and getting used to the just the whole scene, getting used to the boat launch, the weigh in and all that takes time, and there's nerves involved, and it's just it's something that, if, like you said, if you don't jump in and do it, you'll never know. So good stuff.
Where can everybody follow you at, Brock?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the whole deal. Brock Belik Fishing, across the board on that. I know I have Nate, my videographer here, recording we'll have a practice video and a tournament video and a post-tournament video coming out from every event this year. So that'll be on the YouTube channel. So
cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We'll check that out. Okay. We're going to let you go, man. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes,
and
thanks for the invite, and appreciate
we'll get you back on soon.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thanks, man.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
All right. Good stuff, man. We're going to keep them rolling. We got Stephanie in the queue back there. Stephanie, if you're ready to come on, give us a big thumbs up. Yeah, I got it. All right. Let's bring her in. Hello. How's it going?
It's going. Just a little tired.
Just a little tired. I know you've been grinding, huh?
Yeah, it's been a big time grind. I have history on this lake, and it's not fishing like it normally fishes. Not to me, but saying that too, I'm staying away from waypoints. I don't want to go burn waypoints up, and I'm fishing new water. Not a lot of bites. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Is your history this time of the year on Logan?
No, it was more at the end of about November timeframe,
Okay.
which is similar in a lot of ways. And the stuff that I have can be good for then. It can be good for now. It can be good for summertime. I don't know. So at this point, I'm looking at it as I could do really well or I could really stink it up. But I'm not going to overthink it because number one, it's fishing. We're against the elements, and that's just how it is. We're fishermen. We have to fish in some of the worst weather sometimes, and then some of the best weather. And either way, we still got to figure it out.
So, what's the weather forecast for the next, 3 or 4 days?
It's supposed to be really good. It's supposed to be getting warmer, no wind. I think the fish are going to start chewing. Was what I think by Thursday they should be chewing. I think the weights are going to be really good. Personally, I don't think we can really go by our practice because every single day has been different. Today we had high pressure around 62 degrees. The water is getting warmer. I found areas with 53 degree temps. But also I found water with 45, 46. So it's all depending on where, you want to fish. To me, the lower level of the lake near the dam has gotten muddier to me. But like I was watching, him talk, in the back of the creeks, it is getting clearer. It is. But it's definitely going to be a grind, I think, but the weight is here. It's a great fishery. I know it is. It's a really good fishery.
This time of year, every day is different, like you just mentioned. I've been able to fish the last 3 days, which is pretty rare for me. I actually had Sunday off. Monday was my day off, and then I took Tuesday off because I had some serious cabin fever because we're in the Cape Girardeau, Missouri area, which is a little bit south of St. Louis, and we had some like nasty cold temperatures for like 3 weeks. We had a lot of ice on the lakes, so I decided I'm taking 3 days off. I went fishing the last 3 days. So Sunday, I caught a handful of fish. It was slow. Yesterday was really good. Today I went again, and it was miserable. So the deciding factor was sunshine. Yesterday it was sunny, and the fish were really chewed. It was a really good day. Today got cloudy, and then Sunday it was cloudy as well. So off of what you just said about the weather forecast, I think if you guys get a little bit of sunshine and kind of liven things up and heat the water up, it really could turn on for you down there.
Well, and stable weather too, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be very stable weather, Thursday through Saturday, all similar. And I think the bite's just going to get better is what I think. So that's why I can't say, like, you're never going to hear me say I busted on during practice or I got them figured out, because as soon as this is just my opinion, as soon as you think that, man, it can come and bite you in the butt in about 2 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And so to me, you can struggle during practice, but I'm not trying to win practice. I'm just trying to figure out where the fish are so I can go catch them. And that's my job to do that. And so, we'll see what happens. We all hope. I want to do good, but I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch either. So, but I got some things figured out, but we'll just see if it pans out. I mean, who knows? Like I said, it's changing every single day, and you got to change with it.
Amen. Stephanie's got a question. Stephanie Slayton. Stephanie, this is a question to Stephanie. How did you get into tournament fishing? And you're a great inspiration for females wanting to get into tournaments.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Stephanie, thank you very much. I appreciate that. This is actually my second go around with tournament fishing. I started tournament fishing about 2009 or so. Started with the clubs, and then kind of moved, forward with, the ladies. Ladies had a professional league back then. They still do, but it's different now. Did that, absolutely loved it. Had my second child. I had to take a break, but I never stopped fishing. I fished all the time. Matter of fact, I was a realtor and I fished almost every single day. Got back in it about 4 years ago. Started back with BFLs, then went to Toyotas and the Opens, and now this is my second year with NPFL. And it has been definitely a wonderful thing that I did. I can tell any lady listening, if this is something that you would love to do, don't be scared to do it. I'm not against any of these guys out here, okay? We're all individual people. I'm not against them. I'm against the fish, the conditions. I'm against that. And myself. I'm against myself because, number one, your brain will get in your way more so than anybody else ever will. If you don't have your brain right and your thought process right, guess what? You're not going to be successful. You've got to go out there, know that you can do it, and have a good plan, and also be able to change your plan when need be. Because if something's not working, know when to change it. So yeah, I don't know. Just been fishing a long time.
That's one of the toughest things about fishing, whether you're tournament fishing or just fun fishing, is like changing when you need to change.
Yeah.
It's
hard. It's hard to let go of something that, let's say, you've been getting the bites, been shaking them off during practice. You know how you've been catching them, but all of a sudden tournament day comes around and you're not getting a bite like that anymore. It's hard to let go of something, especially if you know that they were eating it. It's just hard. I mean, I like to be to the point on day one of the tournament having 3 rods on my deck. If I have 3 rods on my deck, I know what the heck they're doing, or I think I do. Obviously, it can change, but it like I said, it can change, and you got to adapt. If you can't adapt, then you don't need to be a tournament angler.
Well, and I like what you said earlier about not fishing history. You got some history on the lake, but ignoring those waypoints and going and finding fresh fish, fresh areas too, knowing that it's November to January, similar, but yet so far on the opposite ends of the spectrum. They were going and now they're coming. I mean, it's 2 different ways of looking.
Yeah, well, the bait fish too react different this time of year. Also, we're seeing a lot of the bait fish in these creeks, and when I talk about bait fish, I'm talking about your whole screen is nothing but bait fish. I was in one creek today; it was nothing but crappie. My whole screen was crappie, thousands of crappie, and we're talking from 4 foot deep to 12 foot deep. Wow. And I said, I'm not fishing in here. I can't compete with this. You got to know when you can't compete with it. And, personally, I don't like to fish, when there is tons of bait like that. I want to go to a creek that has some bait. You want to see some bait, and you want to see those fish chasing that bait. Okay, you can catch those fish. But when there's thousands and thousands, no, that's not for me. It may be for some people, but I can't compete with that. I don't have a live bait on my hook.
Right.
So,
that plays mental games with you too, right? Like we talk about the mental side of fishing, and when like you said, when your screen gets blacked out, the initial thought's like, all right, they're here. Then the next thought is like, crap, I just got a 2.5 inch little crankbait that they're not even going to see. Like,
well, here's to piggyback off of that. There's a local lake here that they get offshore, and the bait balls get huge. Last couple of times I've been messing with them, I really can't catch a fish out of all the bait balls, even with an A rig. Like that's one of those things that usually turns a fish on. But if I find some fish sitting maybe 50 yards away from that bait, just like what you're talking about, that I get a chance of catching those fish.
Absolutely,
because you can't compete with
if they're in that bait ball, around that bait ball, underneath that bait ball, and you're talking about thousands of them, like the bait. It's not to me, and this is just my opinion, it's probably not even right. It's not even worth messing with those. Go find a place that doesn't have as much bait, but still has bait. Obviously, fish are going to be around the food. That's just how it goes. But it's just, there is such thing as having too much, I think.
So your home is Texas, is that right? You from Texas?
Yes. My home lake is Sam Rayburn. I lived on Sam Rayburn most of my life. I live about 45 minutes away now. Still spend the majority of my time there.
Okay, cool. That's a lake I have not been on, but it's a bucket list lake for sure.
Yeah, it's a great lake. We got giants, a lot of hydrilla, lily pads, during the summer. So the frog bite is exceptional. I mean, it's freaking awesome. I love a frog bite. It spoils you too, because when you come to a lake like this and don't have a lot of vegetation, especially this time of year when they draw down the water, it's different. People that come from vegetation loves vegetation. I go looking for it if I'm on a lake. It's just what I do, right? But yeah, that's where I'm from.
We're laughing because we fish our home lake is a heavily vegetated lake.
So you know what I'm talking about. I mean, summertime you go punch grass, and
I fished a regional down at we fish on the co-angler side in the BFLs, or I used to. Fished a regional down at Chickamauga, and I went and practiced with a friend of ours, and he's, Kentucky Lake, post grass fishing at Kentucky Lake, and some Ohio River where there's not much grass, and some lakes in Indiana that don't have any grass. And he's like, how do you break all this down? I'm like, man, this is easy. This is easy stuff. He's like, I don't get it. It's just seas upon seas of grass. And
yeah,
like, that's easy. When you got a rock bank that has no transitions, that's difficult to me. So
yeah, it just, I think when you grow up doing that, you just kind of know what to look for. And, personally, I'm not a huge person with punching grass, but obviously we do it a lot. I'd pick a frog over that any day,
Mm-hmm.
but you grow up doing it, that's just what you do. I didn't grow up offshore fishing a lot because my dad didn't believe in having any type of electronics. He actually just got his first hummingbird from me for Christmas. And so he has a flat bottom boat that he's had it's over 30 years old. It was a custom one. And I mean, he still won't even hardly turn on the hummingbird to figure out anything. But, I learned a lot from him. He tells me sometimes to turn off my electronics, close your eyes, listen, turn off your music. Because I listen to music when I fish. That is one thing I do. Not loud, but I do listen to music. And you'll hear it blaring when I'm going across the lake now. I'm usually singing most of the time. But anyways, now he likes me to just look around, pay attention. Are there there's certain birds that eat fish? Are they sitting? Are they hunting? Are you seeing, bait flicker? Are you seeing this and that? So, even though he does not use electronics, I still learn a great deal from him because, he catches fish. He catches fish all the time. He can catch them out of a dang mud hole and without electronics. But, when he gets in my boat, it's a whole different story. He can't beat me in my boat because I have the electronics. But I think you need to have those fish smarts about you. You need to be able to turn off your electronics and fish, but use the electronics to make you better because it's going to make you better. You can't compete in a league like this and not have that type of stuff because you're not going to be able to compete.
Well, you said you're a real estate agent.
These guys are good.
Absolutely. You said you're a real estate agent. I mean, you're in the business of selling houses.
I used to be. I'm not now. All I do is fish. I'm fishing a whole lot this year.
But you don't see a lot of contractors using a handsaw and a hand drill and a screwdriver. They're using air nailers and
there's some guy that's still,
absolutely
some guy out there,
he's the same guy that doesn't like live scope, but
exactly. I freaking love it. I came from Mega Live, so I just got my new boat literally I got it a week before I got here, and I went from Mega Live to live scope. I still have birds though, 360 and stuff, but it's crazy how different the Mega Live is compared to the live scope. And this is nothing against birds because I freaking love them, but oh my God, I've been missing out. Like I really have been.
There's a difference for sure.
Absolutely. I got a good buddy that he's running a Humminbird Live, and when he bought it, I was like, man, I think you made a mistake. You probably should have bought.
Well, and then the LVS 32, which is what I have, to the 34. There's a big difference in those two as well.
Yeah. Stephanie over there is asking a really good question. If y'all don't mind, I can hit it real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of people ask me this question all the time, and I would love to answer it. No, I have not been treated any differently than anybody else that I compete against. We talked about this when I joined last year. I told them I did not want to be treated differently because I'm not any different. Fish don't care if you're a man, woman. They don't care. They don't know the difference. And every single guy out here has treated me with 100% respect. Everybody that runs this tournament treats me with respect. I do the same with them. I'm also prior military, a veteran. So, I understand, you treat me well, I'm going to treat you well too. And so it just, I don't expect handouts. I don't expect anything unless I earn it. Period. And so it has been really good for me, and I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, thank you for your service.
Wow. Thank you for service.
Thank you very much.
The 44 on your hat.
Yeah, it's 44 tackle. It's one of my partnerships. One of my best friends owns it out of Florida. And he takes care of me as far as most of my tackle. So
Gotcha. Have to check that out. It's hard to miss that hat. You got it. You're representing it very well.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So what are some of the lakes that you're looking forward to? And then maybe some that you're not so excited to go fish?
Looking forward to, I'm a lot different from a lot of people. When I suck somewhere, I want to go back and prove to myself that
I like that.
I won't always suck there, right? So I sucked at Pickwick last year, and unlike this tournament, I said my practice hasn't been great, but like I said, it's probably gonna change on Thursday. So it's whatever, leave that in the past, right? But Pickwick, I was actually on some fish. Turn around, day one of the tournament, everything changed. Like, it was absolutely miserable. I ended up, and I can't believe I'm saying this on podcast. I have my own podcast where I talk about it every so often. For 3 days, I zeroed along with 8 other people. And that was a hard pill to swallow. It was the one time I did not show up to support my friends at weigh-in, because it was our very first tournament. Heck, I couldn't even hold my head up high, But after that, I was like, you know what? Dakota Bear once told me, you're going to get your teeth beat in more times than you can count in this sport. And the whole thing is get your teeth beat in, learn from those beatings, and then get back up and move on, because every single one of those beatings, you're going to learn something from. So I'm more excited about going back to Pickwick, because I know I learned from that. And I know I can change, how I fish there, what I'm going to be doing. Plus, it's a whole different time of year too, on top of that. So I'm most excited about that. Honestly, there's nothing on this schedule I'm not excited about, really, because I look at it as I got to go figure it out, try to have a good performance, and carry myself well in all the brands that I represent. And that is my goal.
Are you a person that does Google Earth and really looks at a lake before you go, or you do?
I do. Okay. I do all of that. Also, I've been on YouTube since I've been here, because I've been kind of scratching my head, like, what the heck, even though I've watched some of these videos, well, what am I missing? I do all of that, and I'm pretty sure most of us do. And I used to buy paper maps all the way up. I didn't do it this year, but I have paper maps all over the place. Because I can lay it out. I used to lay it out on the deck of my boat. Now, granted, I have, great units on my boat, but I can see the whole map, lay it out. I'd have a pen and I would mark on it. And it just gives, I don't know, it's just different. It used to help me a lot. I don't know why I got away from that, but I did for some reason.
There's something we said about being able to see the entire lake and how it all lays out. You can run a lake all your life and then see it on a paper map, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that touched that side. And
you see the shape of the points, how they come out, or the
yep.
It's just different.
Absolutely. And then when you tie in Google Earth to that, and you can, if you truly know how to utilize Google Earth, which I'm sure most of us do, but when you can go back and look at history and see when low water events happened, and you can see that underwater rock pile that you can't see while you're running down the lake at 70 miles an hour.
Exactly.
And if you incorporate your hummingbirds and your Google Earth and you tie all your waypoints together, it's deadly. So
yeah, exactly. I got that actually from my grandpa about the whole paper map thing, and I just it's just something I always kind of carried with me. I'm a very superstitious person. On top of all that, like, I just if I do well somewhere and I had one thing in my boat, then I'm gonna keep that one thing in my boat. Or it's just I'm not saying crazy superstitious, but it's that fishing superstitious type of stuff. But I do have a banana in my boat, though.
We're all superstitious.
I have a banana in my boat.
You have a banana in your boat?
Yeah.
Wow.
I eat bananas while I'm on the water.
Really?
So what's your biggest superstition in the boat, or what's the one thing that you can't go fishing without?
It used to be a pickle, but now it's a banana. It just, and it's funny because, like, when we were at Eufaula, I had a banana in my boat. I threw out the peel, and boats will literally move out of the way so that peel does not hit their boat.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, it's like, oh, if it hits my boat, he's thinking, but
So have you messed with anybody?
I don't know. I don't know. I started eating them because of my stomach. The potassium is good for you and everything. And that's the reason I put it in there. And I actually first did it at Eufaula, and that was the best tournament I had last year. So it's like, okay, let's keep the banana in the boat. Matter of fact, I ordered a banana decal to put on this, like inside of my boat underneath, the ice chest. I wanted my banana decal, and it didn't come in time. So
I see a potential sponsorship like with Del Monte or Chiquita or something somewhere down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. I love to eat banana.
How many have you messed with by throwing a banana in their boat?
I have never done that because I think somebody may kill you over that. Actually,
it's possible.
Shots may be fired. But, I mean, I actually threw one in my roommate's boat today, but he's my roommate and he didn't care. He just picked it up and freaking peeled it and ate it right then. And I mean, he didn't freak out, but I would not do that to anybody else.
That'd be classic. See, leaving for the tournament in the morning, just, hey, buddy, good luck, and just throw a banana peel in somebody's boat.
Well, I love the fact that that's become a superstition among anglers, among tournament anglers. I don't think it exists outside of tournament anglers. Because you talk to a normal person, like, well, why would you not eat a banana on the way to the lake? Or why would you not have a banana in your boat? But the rest of us are superstitious about it. So.
Well, it's like also, instead of wearing my wedding ring, I wear my grandmother's wedding ring. When I'm fishing tournaments, like to have a little piece of her with me. My grandfather died. He had a heat stroke while he was fishing. And anyway, so, I get to keep part of him with me. Absolutely. And, a necklace that my son gave me. And it's, I fish with some of my grandfather's rods still to this day. And they're great. I love it. It's just, I like to have all that with me and, stay grounded and, just, I don't know, family's the most important thing. So,
amen.
And it's hard being away and being a mom. Very hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Bass Fanatic says, what was your MOS when you were in the military?
I was a 42 Alpha, which is a human resource specialist. Spent some time in Korea, and I loved it there. And then I ended up at Fort Bragg, and that's when I got out. So.
Okay.
Wayne says no, but bananas, it's bad juju.
Bad juju.
Oh, it's only bad juju if you think it is.
That's right.
But I get it. I mean,
all fishermen have some sort of superstition, whether you got to put, 2 left socks on before you leave the house or whatever it may be. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really have, I think I try to do things the same way all the time because they seem to be working out as I do them that way. And
yeah, me too. When it comes down to it, yeah.
And I'm always reminded when I do something in a different order, why I do it in the order that I do it in, because it usually is less efficient.
It's usually when somebody comes up and talks to you in the middle of you getting your boat ready or whatever, and it screws up the process. Yeah, like come right before we went live, I fished till, I don't know, dark, 5:30 or whatever. And when I was strapping everything down, I got a process that I do. If I put the back straps on before I put the rods in my truck, it messes. I have to double check everything an extra couple times because I feel like I did something wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's strange. I don't know if that's not really superstition, but it's a process of being more efficient.
And Stephanie, I will answer that question because I'm not ashamed. I'm 42 years old. So recently had a birthday. And this birthday was actually hard for me. It wasn't turning 40 that was hard for me. It was turning 42 that was hard for me for whatever reason. I don't even know why. Because I started thinking, I'm like, man, I'm about to have to check another box at 45. That's a whole nother box that you have to check. Mm-hmm. I'm still in that 35 to 45 range. So, but it's creeping in on me. And I feel it in my bones too.
Yeah, especially on those in the cold for sure.
Yeah. Especially in the cold. I've had multiple surgeries. I have one of these bodies from the military, and I cheered during college. I had a full scholarship cheering, and my I don't know. I have all kinds of problems with knees and all that kind of stuff. See, I had knee surgery last year. and I hadn't missed Saginaw Bay because of it. So,
so how's your knee now? Is it feeling better?
It's not fixed, but it's manageable now. Eventually I will have to have a knee replacement. I had broken part of my kneecap, and it actually lodged into my femur is what ended up happening.
Dang.
And so it was a mess. So
yeah, that's the whole thing about age. It's not really so much how long you live, it's the quality of life. You know, you want to be like, when I retire, I've got several years till I retire. But I want to be able to do the things that I want to do when I retire, and then into the future. You know, if you're 80 years old and you are having difficulties doing some of the things that you want to do, that's obviously not as good as being 70 and being able to do whatever you want. You know,
well, this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do my whole entire life. I told my dad when I was a little girl, this is what I wanted to do. And at the time, you know, women they didn't fish professionally. They didn't do this type of stuff. And, you know, it's just always, you know, been something that I wanted to do. And, you know, here I am doing it. And, you know, I'm not always the best at it, but sometimes I am really good. And everybody that's listening, you know, you'll have those times where you're going to suck at some places and it's not going to fit your eye. It just will not. Learn something from it, go on and be positive, because the next one you may go win it. You never know.
Yeah. A couple more questions, and we got Rob in the queue, and we'll jump over to him. What's some of your confidence baits? Like if you could go out and go fishing and catch fish doing a certain thing, what would that thing be?
Shaky head.
Yeah.
I absolutely love a shaky head. I think it's very versatile. It works almost anywhere that you go in the country. And it's just, I catch really good fish on it. Also a popar. I absolutely love a popar. That top water bite. I don't, anybody's a fisherman loves a top water bite. I don't care, you know, who's listening. You probably all like a top water bite.
Oh yeah.
So, but I will have to say this, my answer to that question is, doing what we do, you cannot have a favorite bait. You can't have a favorite technique, because every single day something may change, something may be different. They may want a crankbait one day, and then the next day they may want a, you know, dead stick and a Cinco. I mean, that's just how fishing works. So you got to be able to do anything and change with their behavior as well.
Yeah, Stephanie's a big fan of topwater as well. I think we all are, like you said, whether it's a frog through the grass or just right out in the open.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, it gets my blood boiling, and just, you know, that excitement. So
yeah. All right, last question. And this is a question I asked to Brock too. Advice for someone that's wanting to get into fishing tournaments.
My advice is a little bit different than his. He said to go all in. I kind of disagree with the whole go all in situation. It all depends on what your skill set is. You know, how good are you? How long have you been fishing? Just because you haven't fished tournaments your whole life doesn't make you any less capable than the person that's been fishing for 10 years. You know, I say go join a club, get used to the club, get good at that. Maybe go to some BFLs, you know, place well. You don't have to win, but go place well. Get used to how tournament fishing is. You know, I think it's 6 tournaments. I can't remember. I used to fish them, but go get good at that. Get comfortable with fishing around people. Learn the rules. Rules are always very similar, you know, from, you know, MLF to Bass to the NPFL. Learn all that stuff, you know, learn how to, you know, you're fishing against people, but learn how to tournament fish, because tournament fishing is totally different than just going out there fishing. You can't just go jack them during practice. You got to save fish, because you can run out of fish. That is a thing. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes they don't repopulate. So you got to know how to tournament fish. So I say go through that, each one of those steps, then make the big jump and go all in. because man, this sport can get real expensive if you go all in. You have no idea what you're doing.
Yep, that's solid advice. That's the path that I'm on right now. I started out fishing in bass clubs and then moved on to the BFL, and that's a good progression for sure. You get your feet wet, and you decide whether you want to move up or whether you just want to stay where you're at and enjoy the time that you have. So that's
thank
great
you guys
advice.
for having me on. I do greatly appreciate it. I've enjoyed what y'all done so far, and it's been great.
Hey, real quick, what's your podcast? You said you do a podcast.
Yeah, I have Bass Hub Podcast, and I do that with Harvey Horn, which is one of my best friends, and we just talk fishing. Sometimes we have guests on, sometimes we just BS with each other and talk about things that we just don't like or love. It just doesn't matter. Or it's me just making fun of him. So anyhow, it's fun. I love it. If anybody's listening wants to come on, please let me know. Just message me. I'd love to get you on.
Do you have a certain night that you guys go live?
Yeah, it's Tuesday night at 7:00 p.m. Central Time, and it is live. And you can catch the podcast on most podcast platforms. I think Google Podcast. I think that's going away now, but yeah, I enjoy it. It's just any kind of fish talk. I'm all in anytime, but I don't do dog talk. That's one thing I don't do.
Okay.
After practice, I refuse to do it.
I will definitely check it out. I'll check the playback because we always stream on Tuesday. So go check out Stephanie's podcast on Tuesday at 7, and then jump over back to my podcast at 8 or live stream.
That's
at
right.
8. So
that's right.
Perfect.
Share the love. Share the love.
Podcast night.
Yes. All right, Stephanie, it's great hanging out with you. Good luck tomorrow.
Yes,
those fish are going to be loaded up on those waypoints for you. I know it.
Hey, we hope so, and if not, I'll figure it out either way.
That's right. Well, take care.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, good stuff. We got Rob in the queue. This is fun, man. We're going from like one person to other. Rob, how you doing back there? You thumbs up if you're ready to come on. All right, he's ready to rock and roll. Let's bring him in.
What's going on, guys?
Rob or Robert?
Robert.
Okay, Robert. Sorry, I've been calling you Rob.
No, you can call me Robert. That's fine.
Yeah. No, man, just chatting it up, meeting all these people and getting to learn a little bit of background history and stuff. What about you? What's a little bit of your background history?
A little bit of background. Well, I'm from Southwest Florida, born and raised. Started saltwater fishing as a guide down in the Everglades City for multiple years. Worked my way over to Estero Bay because that's really where I live. I think back in 2018, we had really, really bad red tide. So it kind of like pushed me out to stop doing the whole saltwater guiding and then transversing to the freshwater, which my home lake is Lake Okeechobee. So I started guiding Lake Okeechobee, and then I started experiencing on exotic species like peacock bass, clown knives, different kinds of species like that down in the Alligator Alley, fishing down in the Golden Gate Canal system in Naples. And then I've always had an interest of bass fishing professionally wise and stuff like that. I've done a lot of big tournaments in Lake Okeechobee, and I had, I think it was 2020 or was it 2021? 2021 was my best year at Lake Okeechobee. I placed really, really high, got a lot of big checks. And I felt like it was a chance for me to make that leap into the NPFL, which I ended up joining in 2022.
I'm still caught up on the peacock bass and the clown knife stuff, man. That sounds pretty fun, man. How does that go down? Do they bite the same kind of stuff that like largemouth bite? Yeah,
I mean, they do the same thing. What I usually do is I use live bait, shiners and stuff like that when I bring my clients on board. It's kind of difficult to catch the peacocks and clown knives when you're using artificials. So I usually recommend with my clients to use the live bait. We'll average between 30, 40, 50 fish a day. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of good memories. I definitely miss it. It was definitely easier on my vessel to do the whole freshwater instead of the saltwater thing. But the peacock bass. If you guys ever down in Florida, you guys got to go ahead and do that. It's like catching a smallmouth bass on steroids. So,
Wow.
Well, see, I remember as a kid watching it like in the Amazon, and that was my dream trip, is going down to the Amazon. And then you realize that all the stuff that you got to do to go there, it's like, well, how can I do that locally? And I always wondered, is it the same? I know they don't grow as big in Florida as they do in the Amazon.
yeah, they don't grow as big, but it is fun, and they're beautiful looking fish. Like I said, you can bring like 6 or 7 dozen shiners, and you can catch 30, 40 peacock bass. It's insane. And it's not just the peacock bass. There's, you catch cichlids, you catch Oscars, the clown knives come in hand. It's just a whole variety of fish down there that we don't like. We don't get to see that because there's spots, largemouth and stuff, So
I feel a lot more confident being able to make it back to Missouri from Florida
Absolutely.
than I do to make it back
from the Amazon.
It's like there's no way I'd go on the Amazon. That just seems sketchy. It'd be fun, but I don't know.
I think once you got there and you got like off the grid and you fished for like 7 days straight and your hands were bloody from.
I probably watched too many movies, man. I can see like me being that person that he went fishing and that was it. Never made it back. He's got some like
tonight on the X-Files.
Houthi tribal rebels or something that got me tied up to a tree and they're cannibalistic, and that's how I go out, man.
Wow, you just took that way.
That's where my mind went. That's where my mind went.
Way left field. Jeez.
Yeah, for real. So Logan Martin, man, how you feeling about it?
It's a cool lake. So I ended up moving to North Georgia a little bit over 3 years ago, so I can kind of get myself away from Florida and that style. I figured that the only way to really make this as a career is to kind of get yourself out of your comfort zone. And being in Florida, you're only limited to fishing certain types of patterns and vegetation and all that stuff. And when you move up north and you're fishing 20, 30, 40, 50 feet of water, your forward facing sonar comes in handy. And especially like nowadays, that's part of your arsenal that you need. So for me to get better and to have a better career in pro fishing, I needed to move up here. So Logan Martin, there's a lake in North Georgia called Lake Notley that fishes almost identical to Logan Martin. So when I came here during pre-practice before the cutoff, I kind of used the same tools and the same patterns and fished that. And I had probably about 17 or 18 pounds on my first day of pre-practice. And I kind of figured something out within an hour and kind of like located some different spots throughout the lake for the last couple of days of practice. And then leading up to official day of practice, obviously everything has changed. We had that, the crazy rain for the last 7 days, the cold snap, everything turned muddy. The water temperature dipped down tremendously. So a lot of my stuff got blown out, but I did notice that the fish were still there. They just weren't chewing. Mm-hmm. I've been keeping thought about the weather and what's been going on for like this whole week. And I think this tournament, we're going to have a really, really good tournament. I think Friday and Saturday are going to be our best days. I think each day is going to get better as the water warms up. I know Thursday and Friday, those days, they're going to be really calm. We haven't had any calm wind. I mean, it's been just blowing nonstop. So I think with the wind dwindling down and it's getting hot, I think the bite is going to be unreal. Especially a lot of the guys that like to fish shallow and stuff like that. I think that bite's going to come in hand.
Yeah, I would agree, man. I think it's setting up to be a lot better than what it's showing itself right now. Just having a stable weather pattern, a little bit of sunshine. If a person does like to fish that shallow, more stained water, that couple of days of sunshine is really going to warm those water temps up, 3, 4, 5 degrees.
Especially that shallow stained water.
Yeah, and those fish are, it's getting close. It's February basically. I mean, it's close to them. They're pre-spawn, early pre-spawn, and I think they're wanting to start moving and kind of looking around.
Well, I noticed that today. I caught a couple pissers, so I know they're in the attention of moving up. It's just that right time. I think like I said, as the week go by, the days go by this week, I think they're going to eventually move up. But you know, time will tell. So
I know this is kind of cliche, but I think the guy that keeps the biggest open mind for the next 3-4 days is going to be paid off. You fished practice, and practice is nothing like what it's going to be the next couple of days down there. I was just checking out the weather for you guys' area, and I mean, yeah, you're right. It's going to warm up. You got a warming trend. You got some dirty water that's going to warm up. I think it's a guy that puts the trolling motor down and catches them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got our first. Here's our first question of the night. Interested to know what a pisser is.
A pisser is a buck, a male bass that generates, you know, the stuff that wants to go ahead and start bedding. Yeah, spawning. So yeah, so they're pissing. So when you catch a bass and you squeeze it and piss comes out of it, they usually, you know, their intentions are to move up.
Right.
He's ready to go.
Yeah.
That's funny.
A pisser.
Yeah. I know exactly
Well,
what
see,
you're saying.
you know,
What's up, Dave?
when Gabe sent me the list of who was on tonight, and I saw your last name, I would have never guessed that you were from South Florida and born and raised.
Yeah.
I was guessing Michigan, somewhere north.
Oh, so I'm adopted. So
Okay.
my original last name, I'm actually Cuban and Mexican. So my actually last name should be Robert Martinez, but it's actually Robert Oleski. My dad adopted me, so I ended up getting his last name.
Okay.
And yeah, no one will ever realize that they think you're actually Spanish. You know, I'm like, yeah, I'm
Awesome, man. Yeah.
I'm a Cuban redneck. You know, never expect.
Yeah.
It, so.
I love
It's like a Cuban hockey player or something.
That's right.
That's cool. Good stuff, man. So the schedule, man. How you feeling about the rest of the year? Like the rest of the lakes? Anything stand out to you?
No, I mean I've been to a lot of them already. I've been to Hartwell before. I've been to Saginaw in 2022 when I was in the NPFL. See, I didn't fish the NPFL last year. I took a break, but I had a chance to fish Saginaw. Got my first check with the NPFL in that event. Love that lake. It's hands down one of the best fisheries I've ever been to. Obviously, I've never been to Pickwick, but I'm really looking forward to Pickwick. I'm looking forward to St. John's because I'm a Florida guy. And then I've actually really tickled at that to go to Lake of the Ozarks. I got a little intel before the cutoff, before we were not allowed to get information. And so I'm really, really looking forward to that event. So.
Have you been there yet to Lake of the Ozarks?
No, I've never been to Lake of the Ozarks. So.
Okay. A lot of docks.
Oh, I know.
A lot of docks.
Just a few.
Yeah. That's one of the lakes that I fish. I'm about 5 hours away from there. So I fish the BFLs and some team tournaments over there. And yeah, it's cool. It's a special lake because of the boat traffic is nuts. You guys will be down there in October. There'll still be some boat traffic out there. So
well, with our recent weather, especially like late October has been in the 70s and 80s still. Like
yeah, they don't put them up until
it's
till middle of November down
Yeah.
there. It's rowdy, man. It gets pretty rowdy down there. But
That's how it is in Lake Lanier too, as well. That's pretty close to my house.
Okay.
So I mean,
Nothing new for you then.
Even when it gets cold, you'll still see random jet skis out there. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like seriously, go back home.
Does Lanier have
Yeah.
a lot of the big like 45, 50-foot cruisers?
Yeah, they do.
You
You know, especially on the main part of the lake and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't see them as much as if you go in the back of the creeks and ditches and stuff. So.
Yeah, Lake of the Ozarks. So we were there like a couple weeks after 4th of July, and it was just the last time that I was there on the lake in the summertime, and it was just ridiculous. I mean,
It's like April to October.
Yeah.
It gets nuts. You get a nice 60-degree day even in March.
Yeah.
There'll be people out there running around acting crazy. It's fun though.
somebody will be out there trying to ski behind one of those things too. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. So what do you miss Florida?
No, I don't. No, you know, I hated the heat, you know, especially being a guide in the summer times. You know, I would run like doubles and triples, triple trips a day, and it's so exhausting, the heat. I mean, it got to the point, like my wife just told me, she goes, let's go ahead and let's go up north for the summer, and I'm like, why? She goes, well, you can't keep complaining about the heat, so let's see if we can change that. So that's why we checked up in North Georgia, and we fell in love with the place called LJ where I live in now, and absolutely love it. Love the cold. I adapted very well, especially being a Florida guy. The cold does not bother me at all one bit. I'll probably be one of the few people, trying to push my buttons to possibly wear shorts on, one of the days on this week.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Will Harkins got a good question here. Who do you look up to on the NPFL field this year? Says you know the right answer.
He's in the next room over. He's
okay. That's funny. I was going to ask who you're traveling with.
Yeah, so I'm traveling with Will Harkins and Richard Key.
Okay.
This year.
Funny.
So. Is he in the next room, or is he just on the other side of the bed with you? I mean,
no. I mean, there's no one next to me.
Okay. Fair enough.
In the other room.
Here's a question from Stephanie. Do you have a technique or bait that you're most confident in? And then what kind of fisherman are you? Are you like, do you consider yourself like power fisherman, finesse fisherman?
I hate to say versatile, but I like to fish. I like to do anything that catches a fish. I will pick a place apart using whatever I can, whatever angles, up, down, all around. It doesn't matter what I'm using. I love throwing a frog. I'm a frog fisherman. That is my bread and butter. But obviously, we don't do frog fishing here in Logan right now this time of the year. I love the jackhammer. I'm a jackhammer guy. I like flipping. I like throwing trap. I like jerk baiting. I like throwing a Senko fluke. You name it, I like throwing it all. So whatever I can do to catch a fish, like I said, I mean that's basically my go-to.
Well, you're like one of the dangerous guys, because most folks dread going to Florida, right? Like that's either you make it or break it when you go to Florida. Coming out of Florida and being more of a versatile angler than just a Florida angler now, living in North Georgia for the last couple of years, that's got to make you a force to be reckoned with out there. Just having that both ends of the spectrum. And we talked about that with Stephanie a while ago, the grass fishing. She's from down at Sam Rayburn. I mean, that's something that a lot of folks in the country take for granted, because if you're an Ozark guy, if you're basically a Midwest guy, you don't fish a lot of grass. So yeah, that's one that you have in your repertoire.
And then like Florida's like everything's, you see everybody fishing just in small sections. I've never fished Okeechobee. I've never really been down to Florida and fishing, but I know a lot of these tournaments throw one out of the monkey box, or there's like a little, like 2 or 3 little sections where everybody's at, and that's where all like majority of the fish are. It's so strange. And then you got a lake like you'll find out in Lake of the Ozarks, you can literally pull into any cove bay at Lake of the Ozarks and catch a 20-pound bag. It's just spread out. So you got Florida where everything's like confined, and then you got a lot of these other lakes where
Florida, everybody's going to have a limit, right? You come in at Okeechobee and pretty well everybody's got a limit of fish. And
that's not always the case. I mean, Okeechobee is a lake of its own, just kind of like any other lake in the United States. The one thing that Lake Okeechobee distinguishes from other lakes and stands out differently is it changes constantly. Like it's every year the vegetation, something moves. It's either high water, low water. It's never consistent. So you
spray it a lot too, right?
And that's another big thing. That's another topic I can go tackle against. The spraying doesn't help. The hurricanes coming through. The submerged vegetation that was there especially when it was hot years ago. I mean, we had phenomenal eelgrass, crystal clear water. It was just so amazing, and it's not like that anymore. The water is extremely high. There's only like 3 areas right now that people are catching. And you got to find the clean water. So, and everybody's on top of each other. And the things like with with the lake, like probably Lake of the Ozarks, there's just so many areas that you can go and catch fish. And Lake Okeechobee, you only got 3 areas, and there's 50 boats in those 3 areas.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Here's a question from Stephanie. She says, what makes a jackhammer so good in your opinion? And Chance says, have you tried the Evos yet?
I have not tried the Evos. The reason why I like the jackhammer so much compared to like the original chatterbait, the original chatterbait goes all over the place. I feel like if fish is trying to chase that, they're just like, stop me. And it's like they don't want that. They want something consistent on the grind. And I like I said, I've caught so many darn fish with that stupid jackhammer. It's like a bait that never fails. The jackhammer is probably the #1 bait in the United States. You can basically throw that anywhere. Time, place, doesn't matter if it's cold, hot, middle of the day, first thing in the morning, even at night. It's just that's the #1 bait in the United States. So.
Yeah, and I think to what Stephanie said is one thing about the jackhammer is it starts up really fast, and you can keep the blade kind of thumping at a pretty slow pace, which that's one of the keys to to fishing a chatterbait a lot of times is reel it as slow as freaking possible. It's I've said before, even if the blade's not really doing anything, it's still a swim jig.
Yeah,
it still looks like a swim jig basically, and fish love a swim jig without the blade. So.
And it comes through vegetation.
It does. It comes through vegetation pretty good.
It's like here in Logan Martin, like I've caught fish on a jackhammer in like less than a foot of water, no lie. And then I've caught some in 15 to 20 foot of water here. I mean, it's all about presentation, how you angle it and stuff like that. Whether you want to keep it up in the middle, like suspended, or you want to keep it down low and just rip the ground. There's so many different ways to fish a jackhammer, not your typical shallow water bait. It can be, like I said, you can fish in 20, 30 feet of water. I mean, just a 3/4 ounce jackhammer and just let that thing sit and just run it off the bottom. I mean, fish will eat that.
What are your top 3 trailers on a jackhammer?
Well, I'm sponsored by Bruiser Baits, and we have a Slimmer Swimmer, which is it's the trailer that I typically use 99% of the time on my jackhammer. It's a color fool's gold.
It's like a boot tail swim bait.
It's just like your typical swim bait, you know. Yeah. So.
Okay.
I'll check that one out.
Yeah. So when is it too cold to fish a jackhammer?
Never.
I know.
No.
I always wonder that.
No, I mean, first day of practice, it was 44-degree water temperature, and I knocked a 3-pound spot on a foot of water with the jackhammer.
It's crazy. That's something I've been learning the last couple of years is to throw that even in colder water, because I used to pick it up in the spring when the water gets 51, 52, 53 and kind of start working it into my arsenal. But this last couple of years, I've continued to fish it in the fall, even when the water's 45, 44, and you can still catch fish. I think you can catch fish on almost anything in cold water if you if you pick the right days. I mean, obviously not top water. There's although sometimes
I don't know. We've caught them in January.
Last year there was a guy that caught some in 37-degree water on top water on a pop bar, but it was one of those days where the fish were sitting up really high in the water column, and he just had to let it sit. But that's definitely not one of my go-tos this time of year. But most baits, you can catch a fish even in cold water if you're throwing it in the right place and you're fishing the right scenario with it.
Right.
Basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a buzz bait this time of the year is a big fish bait. You'll typically get 1 or 2 bites, and they're usually giants. And usually this time of the year I like to throw a buzz bait this time of the year when it's cold.
I didn't have that rod on my deck today. I should have put a buzz bait on there. Probably could have caught more. Graphite or glass on the chatterbait?
For rod?
Yeah.
Glass. I throw a 7.4 medium heavy, 8 to 20 pound Invoker Tour from Arc. I've been throwing that rod with that chatterbait for I would say about 4 or 5 years now, and it just the hook the hook ratio on that thing is unbelievable. I mean, you don't even have to set the hook; it sets it itself. You just feel the thing, you swipe it, and you land most of your fish. I boat fish, flip my fish majority of the time. So I mean, that rod itself is probably one of the best rods out there in the chatterbait.
What do you think it's going to take to win, like, for 3 days, Logan Martin?
15 a day.
15 a day?
Yeah.
45.
So you're looking between 42 to 45 pounds in 3 days, in my opinion. And I think it's going to take 10 to 12 pounds a day to get a check. But I could be wrong with that. Like I said earlier, like with this consistent temperature, the consistent weather, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to get a check because everybody's going to catch them. But then again, it could take 10, 12 pounds to get a check. I mean, I'm not sure.
Think the weights will be pretty tight?
Yeah, I think they will be tight. You know, I'm not really worried about that. I'm not really worried about who I'm fishing against. I'm just kind of just fishing the moment and just doing my thing. I mean, I remember my first year in the NPFL, I kind of took things for granted. Kind of when you were labeled as a pro, you know, you like I said, you take things for granted. I didn't really push myself as much as I wanted to. My anxiety levels were through the roof, and you know, taking this year off really kind of made me humble going into this year. And you know, I don't get like stage fright. I don't get the butterflies anymore. I just fish the moment. I don't care who's around me. I'm just gonna, you know, if it's your time, it's your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's man, that's one of the hardest things to get over is that and getting spun out. You know, like when you're in the middle of a derby and things aren't going your way, it's like your mind starts talking to you. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but do you have when the day is going tough during a derby, do you have some things that you do to try to get yourself back on track?
Yeah, I mean, probably get something to eat, take a drink, take a sit back, and you know, reprocess everything. You know, it's you know, I've been there, done that. I remember my first NPFL event over in Lake Cumberland. They canceled day 1 and day 2 because of that horrific flood that we got, and so they basically it was like a 1-day shootout for 50K. And for the first time ever in my career, I didn't bring a fish on the scales. And you know, it's, you know, going through that whole day, and it's not that I didn't catch a fish. I caught plenty of fish. They caught some smallmouth, but they have to be 18 to keep, and they were just under that. So, you know, you can look back at it and just tell yourself, you can beat yourself to death, or you can just move on from it. And especially when, you know, you got 3 hours left to fish, you only got 1 or 2 fish on the box, you got none fish in the box, you know, you just keep putting your head down, because I've fished so many tournaments, especially in Okeechobee, where I've had maybe 1 or 2 fish, and then the week before I won, you know what I mean, with like 25 pounds, and I'm like, dude, I can't catch it. I can't even get a bit. So the last 30 minutes, I bust 20 pounds, and I ended up either winning it or, you know, placing high. So, you know, the whole never giving up Mike Akinelli thing, it's the truth. You know, don't give up. You know, I mean, just keep grinding, because you never know. You can get that one lucky bite, and it could be a big one. So,
man, that's so true. It's like it only takes one cast. I know it's cliche, but it does only take one cast. Or I guess it takes 5 casts, but those 5 casts could come in the first hour, or they could come in the last 20 minutes of the day. You got to keep your head in the game, man. You got to keep casting and stay focused. It can be challenging at times, even fun fishing, man. Just out there having a day out on the lake, you know, you can get spun out and feel like there's not a damn fish in the lake, but you just got to keep casting and keep covering water and keep putting things together. I always, something I do, and I know I asked you the question, but this is like my 2 cents, is sometimes I just pull up the trolling motor and just run somewhere else just to get out of that whole area and just get some, you know, wind in my goatee and just start fresh, man. Just start fresh, because it's like I'm done with this cove, man. It's dead. I got to go check something else out. So, all right, man. We got Tater Hog in the queue. So okay. I'm gonna leave you with one more question. What do you like the most about tournament fishing?
What I like most about tournament fishing, I'm just a competitor all around. Played sports my whole life. Played football. Was a quarterback all through high school, college, semi-pro. My mentality is always win, win, win. So I don't even like fun fishing. I know that sounds cliche, and I mean, yeah, I don't mind going out and having fun and catching a bunch of bass, but I'd rather do it in a tournament setting. There's nothing better than fishing a tournament. It doesn't matter if it's a $25 entry fee or $5,000. I mean, I fish to win it, hands down. It's nothing. Nothing's better than just going out there and grinding and competing against other people. So
that's a good answer, man. Yeah, I'm shooting. I got a YouTube channel, obviously, and every time I go fishing, I'm trying to make content, and I get like that. Basically what you just said about tournament fishing, I get like that. And fishing in general, I always feel like it's almost not worth it to go fishing unless I've got a camera rolling just to capture some content. And capturing content is similar to tournament fishing in a way, because you only have so long to try to make something happen, and your back's up against the clock, and there's the similar pressure a lot of times. But having said that, every once in a while though, I do just sneak down to the farm pond and just go catch some beluga just to get away from it all.
I do enjoy speck fishing, crappie fishing. So, which I did a bunch this week already on Logan Martin.
That's what I was just gonna say. I got 7 acres in the backyard that's loaded with giant.
You got a little gym there.
And,
oh God, I love catching specks. I mean, that's just one of my favorite things to do. Bring a 12-pack of beer on the boat and catch some specks all day long. Can't beat that,
Well, the great part about you say it's not just out fun fishing, but for me that's like, let's put food on the table.
Yeah,
let's go down and catch dinner, because there's nothing. I mean, as much as I love catching them, I love eating them too. I mean, knock the sides off and put them in some hot grease is just about right for me.
I'll tell you this quick story before you guys let me go. So I went speck fishing a couple weeks ago back at home, and I must have caught like over 20 of them. I mean, it was a fun time. So I start heading back to the boat ramp. I pull up and I see a father and son with this Raggedy Dad boat, and I felt for them. I really did. And I'm like, do I really want to fillet these 20 crappie, or should I just go ahead and give them to this father and son? So I did that, made my whole day and everything. So like, for anybody out there, if you do catch a bunch of specks and you go back to the boat ramp and you don't want to fillet them, give it to someone, because they're going to enjoy it. So
yeah, absolutely. Heck yeah. That's good stuff, man. All right, man. It was good hanging out with you. Good luck in the Derby, and good luck the rest of the season.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks,
right.
Robert.
See ya. All right, that was cool, man.
And then there was one.
Tater Hog is in the queue. Thumbs up. Are you ready to roll on? Here we go. Let's bring in Tater Hog. With a name like that, man. I mean, Tater Hog. Where did that come from? Where did that name come from?
A church cookbook.
A church cookbook.
I started out painting baits, and
I was trying to put that together. I'm like, church.
Well,
cookbook.
hold on. Before you go there, I was thinking, like, I got some church cookbooks that my grandmother gave me, and they're like handwritten from the old ladies in the church. And I'm sitting there thinking,
be a title.
I'm sitting there thinking back some of these cakes and pies recipes. It's like, yep, that could be 100%.
Well, I'm thinking of like potatoes and some kind of ham or something.
Yeah.
And a
it's
pot
always
roast
got to
of
be
some
food
sort.
with us. I mean, come on.
when I first, because I make baits, if you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Out doing custom painting before I actually made my own designs. I custom painted like shad wraps, jerk baits, and sold them on eBay. This is back in 2003. I'm old. Before Facebook, before podcasts, before any of this stuff.
Before live
You were
Right.
painting baits before it was cool to have painted baits.
On eBay. I sold them on eBay for fun. This was a hobby. My handle was like 27XY712. Like, it was just, I never had I'm like, man, I need to come up with some kind of name. And my wife is, what she's watching. Hi, Tracy. She was reading a church cookbook that night. She's like, I think I'm going to make this dish tonight. And I'm like, what is it? She's like, tater nugget hog dish. and it was like tater tots and pork salad or pork sausage and some kind of. It actually sounded good. I'm like, that's it. You catch a giant fish, it's a hog. You catch a really big fish, it's a tater hog.
I like it.
Looking back on it, I never knew everybody was going to call me Tater Hog, but that's kind of how it stuck, and now it's become a nickname, and here I am 20 years later.
You if you would have known what you know now, you would have picked a different name, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would have been Stud Muffin Lures.
Well, then we would all know you're lying.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
You said your wife's on here. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, you don't want her on here. Trust me. Dude, she'll tell you some stories.
So let's do some background info. You're what part of the country you at, and then how'd you work your way through the tournament scene and end up fishing the NPFL?
Well, I'm originally from Indiana, but I moved in like 1997. My wife and I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina area. We actually live in Concord. Probably, you guys are NASCAR fans. I'm probably 4 miles from Charlotte Motor Speedway, which technically is in Concord, North Carolina. And I lost my train of thought. I'm so tired, dude. This practice is like, this is new for me, fishing 3 days in a row.
I know.
I love fishing, but man, I'm like wore out.
In the cold too.
Well,
yeah. Well, no, I'm used to. We fish a lot at Norman in the winter, so I'm used to the cold. Believe it or not, it's not. I'm glad it wasn't the week before. Oh my gosh, I saw that other tournament they had. Tell me what you just asked me, because I told you.
Just some background, like
okay.
you know.
So my wife and I moved in like 1997 from Indiana to North Carolina, and I've been in North Carolina since. I was in the insurance business for a while, picked up making baits as a hobby, and did little auctions for fun on eBay, and then it just kind of took off to where, man, people really want these, and it just kind of, you know, like Chris Zaldane threw one of my baits at Fork a couple years ago. I don't know if any of you guys saw any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It did really well, and that helped a lot, but I was busy. That helped me a little more nationally, but I was really busy locally. I fished tons of, like, we fish a Monday night or Tuesday night or Wednesday night or Thursday night. I'm a rookie in the NPFL, but I've probably fished over 1,000 bass tournaments. I mean, it sounds that probably some people say 1,000. No, we literally fished Monday night wildcat, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. I'm counting everything from 10 boats to 50 boats to 200 boats.
Yeah,
right.
That's a tournament, you know, just different amounts of money that it costs to play the game.
Experience on local lakes at home. This is the first time that I've traveled to a lake that I've never seen before, and hey, it's tough.
Yeah, that's my next question.
I thought I got a lot of experience, and I'm actually a pretty good cold water fisherman. I tend to do pretty decent. One of my buddies, I want to give a shout out, my buddy Matt Haywood. We win a lot of tournaments at home in Lake Norman, and he's taught me tons of stuff over the years.
Shout out to Matt.
We're pretty good in the wintertime, and I thought, oh, this will be about like fishing at home. No, I was wrong.
Yeah,
I
but
stumbled pretty quick.
Well, so I want to go back to, you moved from Indiana. Was it because the fishing was so bad in Indiana, you had to move to North Carolina?
I hated shoveling snow. That's why I moved to North Carolina.
Fair enough.
North Carolina, they're so excited. Oh, it's going to snow 4 inches. I'm like, oh, great. I don't ever want to see snow ever again.
I'm with you, brother. I am with you.
Oh, I'm a letter carrier for the Postal Service, and I get so tired of my daughter. My daughters just want to get out of school. They're 15. They're always wanting snow. And I told them the other day, last week, I said, every time you wish for snow, think about your poor dad out there walking around delivering letters to people. Snow is one thing to somebody that has an office job and just goes back and forth from the car to the house. It's a complete different animal when you're out there working in it. And don't get me wrong, you know, snow's beautiful. It's the part where it lingers and it starts getting slushy.
Hold on. Snow in southeast Missouri is different than snow in
Minnesota,
northern Missouri or Minnesota, because we get ice and then snow, and then it turns to slush, and then it freezes again.
Although this last round was nice, it was like a powdered snow.
Absolutely,
nice.
Absolutely.
I
But it
will
was
say
also 5 degrees outside.
Right.
we fish a lot in the winter at Lake Norman. We have a winter one, like I'll fish, dude, it's Murderer's Row. Hank Cherry, Shane LaHue, Brian Thrift. Like
Wow.
I ran a little Friday tournament and there was 4 elite anglers and there's only 9 boats. and actually none of the elites won. This guy, my buddy Dale Phillips, won. And he said, I felt like I beat 400 people. I'm like, I understand, Dale. It's like Murderer's Row fishing in this thing that we had. But something about the cold in North Carolina, 40 degrees in Indiana doesn't feel as cold as 40 degrees. Like it was 40 the other day, and I always have hand warmers when I'm fishing when it's 40 or under. My hands were warm here. It's like there's so much moisture in the air in North Carolina versus even in Alabama.
Yeah.
It's something, I guess, with the Appalachian Mountains or what. I don't know.
Oh, that makes a huge difference. That cold just kind of like it saturates your
clothes. It feels cold there.
Yeah, I know. We get that around here too. We have a lot
humid
of
cold.
We have a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
It sounds really weird because like we call it Swamp East Missouri. I mean, it's humid around here in the summertime, but in the wintertime it's just as bad because it's 32 degrees outside and there's a light breeze, but it feels like you're soaking wet and cold all at the same time.
We have a friend who grew up in our area. We're in Cape Girardeau, which is about 100 miles south of St. Louis, right on the Mississippi River. But we got a friend that grew up in the area, moved to Colorado, and he's in Eagle, Colorado, right in the mountains, where they have legitimate winters there, cold winters.
Yeah.
But he comes back here and he freezes for the same reason we were just talking about. They don't have the humidity out there. You know, their humidity is like 10, 20%. You come here where the humidity is like 60, 70% in the winter, and it can be 35 degrees where he just came from 20 degrees and he's just sitting here jackhammering.
Yeah, it's
humidity.
In Indiana feels like 40 degrees in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Best comparison.
Yeah, Frank Scales Jr. says there are lots of hammers around Norman.
A lot.
For sure.
It's hard to win there. I mean,
that's kind of like Norman is kind of like the Gunnersville area. It's kind of like the that South Florida area. It's kind of like the Ozark area. There's a handful of places around the country that just are full of absolutely loaded with hammers.
Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Lake of the Ozarks, which is not too far from here. There's you show up to a team tournament down there and you better have your A game on for sure. Yeah.
There's a ton of good fishermen in our area. There's some. The crazy thing is a lot of people they'll have a rule, like some of our tournaments, which is fine. I understand the rules where they say, well, you're a pro, you can't fish it, or, but some of the best fishermen aren't pros. I'm telling you right now, they're not and technically you're considered, a professional, if I guess, depending on how much money you pay to fish.
Yeah.
Or, of course, the elite guys they've qualified. But what I'm saying is, there's people I fished with, I fished with Jacob Wheeler before. I fished with Brian Thrift. I fished with Hank Cherry. I fished with Shane LaHue before in the boat. I fished with tons. And there's a guy from North Carolina, and the guys in North Carolina, Cliff Kirby. People say, who's the best fisherman you're fishing with? I say, ain't even a question, Cliff Kirby. And people are like, who's Cliff Kirby? You just have to go with the guy, and you would know what I'm talking about.
Well, I was going to say that earlier. We were talking when we had Big Al on in the beginning. Like, some of the best anglers aren't the anglers that fish tournaments, or aren't even the anglers that fish professionally.
Or they fish local.
Yeah, they just fish your local Wednesday nighter, and they kick everybody's butt. But you put them on the national scene, and they're going to kick everybody's butt there too.
I have a newfound respect, though, too, for the guys that travel, because it's different fishing the same lake over and over.
Right.
And your house in the dark, you can walk around.
Mm-hmm.
Which has been a new experience for me. I have experience fishing, but coming to a lake you've never seen before and learning how to catch 5 fish, and you got 3 days to do it, where I had so many years and so many people helped me at my home lake over the years, learning this spot and learning that little place and something that's special about this bank. And that takes years to learn versus showing up at a place and figuring out in 3 days.
Right.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's a difference between the professional, I guess, that travels, and then the local professionals, what I'll call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Absolutely.
you've got all the different kinds of lake. You got a grass lake, like we were talking earlier, like say Okeechobee, and then you've got a St. John's River, and then you've got the Deep Highland lakes, and then you've got timber lakes, you got river lakes, you got just you're getting a taste of all that stuff in a year, and it takes a while to get the hang of it.
I was ready to quit after the first day of practice.
So what made you jump in the NPFL this year?
Oh, basically, I mean, it's weird. I've had a successful custom bait business, I guess, for in my opinion, for what for the goals that I had with it. I make a decent living doing it, which there's a lot of people now that do it, and then so, but for some reason I always wanted to try this. I'm like, I didn't start tournament fishing probably till I was actually, believe it or not, I was 40 when I fished my first tournament. I fished my whole life, but I wanted to I've always wanted to do it. And with my family and situations, and my girls were younger at the time, and now they're both out of the house. My one daughter just got married. My other one just finally moved out of the house. And I thought, well, if I'm ever going to do it, I'm 53. I can't wait another 10 years. I'm already tired after 3 days of practice. I just wanted to see I wanted the experience to see what it was like. So hands down to the NPFL for letting me do this, where there's, other series you have to try to qualify. And, and that's, I don't know. I feel like I have the experience to do well in it on a local level. I want to see if I can travel and do it.
Right.
I might be good at it. I might totally just bomb at it. I don't know.
Well, congratulations on getting rid of one and marrying off one.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. They've moved out. We were empty nesters once, and then they came back. Moved out again. So I think this is the last time. I don't know.
Well,
fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's always good to have a nest to land back on if you need it.
Yeah.
I did that once.
Honestly, I feel sorry for the kid. Like, I'm 53, and I'm sitting there thinking, when I first graduated college, I don't know, our first apartment, maybe it was remember when you'd rent an apartment and maybe it was $600, $400, and you'd rent it with 2 or 3 other of your buddies?
Yeah.
That was the rent. Dude, my daughter, the rent is more than my house payment now.
Uh-huh.
And they are like a 900 square foot, and I got a 3,000 square foot home. I'm like, what are you paying? It's crazy. I don't see how the kids make it nowadays, to tell you the truth.
I got my wife is a school teacher, and she's got all kinds of degrees, which is great, but she's got friends that are just now fresh out of school, and they talk about what their mortgage is or what their rent is, and I know what they make because that's public knowledge. We've been down that road before, and it's like there ain't no way how and they're not. That's the sad truth of it, is they're not. They're not making it. It's living paycheck to paycheck with a full degree.
My youngest daughter is a teacher, and do you guys have QT out there in Missouri? There's a gas station. It's called QT.
I know. I'm in the convenience store business, but I know exactly what you're talking about. But no, we don't have them here.
There was a sign on the one locally, we are hiring manager, 32,000 starting salary, 40,000, something like that. I'm like, that's more than a teacher makes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing against that. I mean, that's a hard job too. Don't want to, but I'm just saying, she went to college and dad and mom paid a lot of money for this degree. And I think it's $18 an hour or $16 an hour for a teacher. It's like, oh my God.
Well, that's what their contracted working hours, not the, and I can speak on this because I know, live it firsthand. It doesn't count the nights that they're up there till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, the parent teacher conferences, and then all summer long they're working on their room while they're on summer break.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough occupation.
So I got a question for you about painting baits. Is there a certain bait that's harder to paint than another bait? Is one of them a little more difficult than the rest of them?
On repaints,
Yeah, or no, just a paint. Just say you got a blank and you're going to paint a bait. Is there one that's a little bit more, a little more involved than another one, or does that make sense?
A lot of people sometimes they'll buy my baits are kind of expensive because they're so time consuming, and they're really paying me. I really don't make as much money as what people think for the amount of time that I spent on it, but people fished one of my baits for a while, and it's they caught a bunch of fish. Like, hey man, can you fix this or repaint it? Believe it or not, it's faster if I just made them a new one than to try to fix the one that's been chipped or just got hook rash or to make it look new again.
Yeah,
right.
It's so swim baits are probably the hardest to paint because of the joints. So I've had other guys ask me to paint their designs, and I'm like, well, is it put together? Is it not put together? Because it makes a difference. It's so much easier to paint a bait, paint the bait, take it apart, and clear each piece, versus painting a bait that's jointed that you can't take apart, because you're trying to clear it and keep it from sticking to the other part. That's the trick. I mean, if that makes any sense at all.
It does.
It does.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like
when I first started, some of my swim baits, they sell for $270. Well, it takes me, when I first started, some of them took me 11, 12 hours to make one.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know this. When you sell a bait for $270, you have to pay 10% excise tax to the government right off the bat. So take $27 off of the $270. Then you might have $30 in materials. So take $30 off of that. And then let's just say 30 and 20, that's 50. 210, take 210 divided by 11. That's what you make per hour.
Right.
And then you have to pay tax on the profit. That's why swim baits are so expensive. That people don't, but then they compare the price to the ones that are made overseas, that are made on machines that are chunk, paint, versus the handmade ones. It's kind of like guys will pay a premium for handmade jigs versus the ones you just buy at Walmart.
Right.
Yeah.
You're paying for someone's time. So back to your original question on the painting. Yeah, crankbaits are easy. I can fly through those. Jointed baits are a little harder.
That makes sense. That's like with this YouTube channel. I kind of figured it out about what I make versus the amount of hours that I put into it, and I think I make $6 an hour, somewhere around there is about what I make.
$5 to $6. That's higher than I expected that it was.
Maybe. I mean, I might be bragging a little bit. It might really be $350 or something.
You could help me with my YouTube game. I've been on YouTube for 16 years, and I think I have 193 subscribers.
Hey,
I've never tried. I don't even understand social. I try to do it, but I don't. It's so complicated. All the hashtag this. Well, no, you got to then do this and then post it this time. I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's got to have trending music. I don't even know some of these artists. I don't even know what trending music is. So I have no clue when it comes to the social. I do pretty good on my own, I think, but I probably need a social media person.
You just keep painting swim baits, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, but now I'm out here trying to catch fish.
Getting real. Things are going to change, though. I mean, you got some good weather coming. I think it's going to make the bite turn on for sure.
I had a pretty decent day today, so I'm actually excited. Hopefully.
Good.
Are you enjoying the day off tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to fish another day until tomorrow.
You gonna sleep all day tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
You guys ever go to Vegas and do the slot machines? I
never have.
Well, so I've been to Vegas one time, and my Vegas trip was a work trip, which is probably worse than because my wife was jealous, but it's from 6 to 10 we had functions going on, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And if you wanted to go do anything after that, you could, your free time. Well, if you went out for a couple hours, even at that, I'm up at 5 now in Vegas because I have to be there for work the next morning or I'm fired. So it's and it truly is a city that never sleeps. So yeah, I get it.
Well, fishing for me at practice has been like pull the slot machine, no fish. Pull the slot, no, pull the slot, no. And then you get a bite, you're like, okay, I figured something out. No, that was just luck. No. It's like, just, I don't know.
Love it.
And then you talk to people and they're like, yeah, I caught him. I was doing exactly that. That didn't work for me. I don't know. But today, actually, I had some fun. I mean, like, I feel like I found something, so I'm, like, excited. Whether it work out, I still don't know if I can catch 5.
Yeah.
But the thing about Logan Martin, the bites I've got, I when I first came into this tournament, I thought, like, Lake Norman is loaded with spotted bass. And there's tons of, like, 10 to 14-inch spots. Like, it doesn't matter what bank you pick. You go down the bank when they're biting, you're going to catch a fish.
Right.
Logan Martin, for me, now maybe other guys, maybe I'm just missing it, but it's like, man, there should be a fish on this bank. And then Santee Cooper's like that for me. I've been to Sam. You guys ever fished Santee?
Nope, never have.
Everywhere looks like there should be a fish. And it's like there's just certain places, and you got to know those certain places, and that's over time. And it's kind of been like that for me at this practice. It's like, man, there should be one there. Nope. And then you're doing it, and you talk to your buddies, and like, yeah, I caught some. I was cranking, and I'm like, well, I've been cranking all week, and I ain't caught a fish cranking.
You weren't holding your mouth right, I guess.
But I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Whether it works out, I don't know. That makes sense.
Phil wants to know, are you related to James Watson?
James Big, I've never met him.
Worldwide?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not related to James. He's skinnier than me.
Hey, we're going to give something away. We're going to give something away right now. We're going to be giving away a $25 Baitworks gift card. And I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever had any experience with a Sasquatch, any kind of sighting, or does anybody you know have any kind of Sasquatch stories? I know this is a random question, but this is how we give away our Baitworks gift card.
That's our Sasquatch is our key
just
word.
Came out of nowhere, but you got any Sasquatch history?
You talking to me, or you asking your fans on this?
I'm talking to Tater Hog right there. I
gotta give a shout out to my fishing partner Matt Haywood, and I'll tell you a Sasquatch story.
Okay. Shout out.
This is my local team partner. The Lake Norman guys know who this is. He's a funny guy. He said he's I don't know why, but every time that show's on, like Searching for Bigfoot, I just get sucked in. Like, you know how you watch it and you're like, and they never show Bigfoot. He swears Bigfoot's real.
Yeah.
And we're river rats. We fish way up in the river, and I'm the only one that's we have tons of night tournaments because the boat traffic's so bad at Norman in the summer. He would never go up in the river where there's no docks and lights in the night without someone with him. He's scared. It just freaks him out. And one night I said, just come on, I'm telling you, they're biting up there. Let's go up there. And he's like, I'll go since you're with me in the boat. And we get up there, and there's beavers up there. And sometimes the beavers will sneak up on you, and they'll get next to your boat because you're in their territory, and slap. And one time, I know what it was. It was a beaver. To this day, Haywood swears it was Bigfoot throwing rocks at us, telling us to get out of there.
He could have been throwing beavers at you.
Possibly. The only time I got scared, I think there's a prison in Statesville, and I was up there by myself on an all-nighter, and somebody escaped from the prison, and you helicopters and the dogs, and you saw lights and stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'm way up here. I'm like, what if the guy's armed? What if they really are chasing? Here's a boat right here, and they shoot me. They take my boat and get away from them. I got out of there. I was worried about, my life that night.
I don't blame you on
fishing
that
at night. Fishing at night is weird. It just gets weird.
It's so fun at night. We have shad spawn. Like, people see a shad spawn in the daytime, and they see them for about a half an hour on the rocks. At nighttime at Norman, it lasts for 7 hours.
Oh,
And
wow.
shoot off the rocks all night long and eat topwater.
Really?
Ooh.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Oh,
Yeah, you start watching those scary movies, and it'll change your life. It definitely will take something that seems normal and you got no care in the world about doing it, and then you find yourself in the middle of it and you start replaying those episodes in your head. I got a similar story right around here, and I told this a while back, but I'm at my father-in-law's house, but right across the field is my house. And this is about a month and a half ago. We had a bunch of EMT people come flying out. I'm out in the country. They come flying past the house and they stop right here. And my father-in-law's gate right out there, or his driveway. And there's all kinds of police. There was like 2 or 3 sheriffs down there. There's a couple fire trucks, and we didn't know what happened. Well, they're out here in the cornfield with flashlights, and my daughter's looking out the window, and she's hyping it up, and she's got my wife scared, and she's like, they're out there, they're looking for somebody. There's somebody out in the cornfield. There's people out there with flashlights, or they're everywhere. They're looking around. So first thing I do is I go downstairs and I grab my shotgun, and I grab like a handful of shells. I put 5 in there, and well, I can't say that. I'll put 3 in there, and then I put some more shells, and I'm outside kind of creeping around, looking around. Actually, no, that's where I was going. They told me not to go outside because they were scared. They were scared something was going on. So I'm looking out the window, and I'm trying to get outside. Long story short, okay, it went from an escaped convict at the local prison to being somebody just hit a deer, and they were out in the field looking for that deer. So that's the kind of stuff that happens when you stay up late watching scary movies. You get this whole drama thing's working in your head, and you're right in the middle of it. Well, it's just a hit and run on a deer. That's all it was.
oh Lord.
We got a winner yet?
No, not yet.
Wow, keep guessing.
Between 1 and 200, keep guessing.
I got the number right here. The way it works is you guess a number between 1 and 200, and whoever guesses that number.
You guys seeing like a tick? You see the guess?
Yeah, there's a bunch of numbers.
You see me start going cross-eyed. That's why.
How long have y'all been doing your podcast?
A couple years.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. We do it every Tuesday night at 8:00.
Is there ever nights you're like, I just don't want to do it tonight?
Sometimes, especially in the summer when I'm fishing, like on Tuesday night, and I get to fishing, the fish are biting, and I know I got to leave at 6 so I can get back and set up this live stream at 8.
Well, see, the problem is when you got to sit next to the guy that's been fishing all day long, and you've been at work all day long, and he smells rotten, and it's just not a good look.
Well, they weren't biting today very well.
We're getting really close.
We're getting close.
Somebody's going to get it. I got a feeling somebody's already got it. There it is. Alex Butler, wherever he went.
We got a wiener.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, it's going away.
Where'd it go?
Uh-oh. There it is.
All right, Alex. You know what to do. Get a hold of me on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or 10 Horse Monty, or Instagram at 10 Horse Monty 6, and I will get you taken care of tomorrow. One last question, man. We won't keep you up all night. You gotta get some sleep. I know you're wore out, but some advice. Any advice for someone that's wanting to get into tournament fishing?
Don't. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do it.
Hey, no, I'm just kidding.
Put it on Black and Vegas.
Probably the best advice, as far as this could go for all fishing. And it doesn't just be tournament fishing. The best way to learn your home lake, that I feel like is the best way. Like Lake Norman, for example, is a huge lake. It's like 32,000 acres, and there's all kinds of creeks. Fish that one creek, and I'm talking that some of our creeks are as big as some other people's ponds or lakes. But like I fished one area every like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I fished that one area for a whole year. And you learn everything about it, just like you learn about everything in your house. And you start learning out like, hey, in January, they're biting in the kitchen. Hey, in February, they're biting in the bathroom. Hey, in December, they're biting in the living room. And you learn that area really well, and then you work to the next area. You can probably, it doesn't have to, but that's probably the best thing that happened. That was the best thing for me on Lake Norman. And then you learn each little spot, and then when you get a bite on those spots, you've got a million other places like it, and you don't have to run that far.
Right.
But there'll be times of the year that area is not good. And then after you do that for a year, you move on to another part of the lake, and then you learn it. And eventually you'll know where to run throughout the whole year on your home body. That might not even answer your question, but that's my answer to fishing.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think a lot of times we get so screwed up, and instead of learning an area, we try to go learn what they're doing.
In a tournament where I'm running all over the place and I'm like trying to, like, I kind of was at practice because it's a new place. I'm like, I don't want to miss anything. I want to try to, when I finally just settled down and picked an area, I finally started doing better at this practice this week.
Right.
And same thing in any tournament. When I try to run from one end of the lake to the other, and I'm running here and go to this spot and that spot, never done good. When I stay in one area, and actually my partner Matt, he's a great fisherman, my team partner, says you learn the main spots in that area, but then you start picking little secondary spots too, because you go there all the time, right? So when those main spots aren't working, you don't have to run that far to check more places. And you don't get so spun out. You know this is where you're going. This is how I got to catch them. And most areas are, I guess that's probably why our lake, there's really a lot of great fishermen from our area. And Norman changes so much. The pattern changes every 20 minutes, it feels like. So you're constantly learning new patterns throughout the day, and you honestly, practice is, you don't really have to practice our lake, because whatever you figure out at 2:00 is not going to work the next day. You learn patterns. You learn the pattern for the moment that day. And fishing is the same way. Like, I caught them on a pattern that set up today, but now in 2 days it's going to be cloudy. I don't know if it's going to hold up. But I've not fished Lake Logan Martin enough to know for sure. I feel like it will, but the sun was out today. So that's like, I don't know. I guess I'm really tired. I'm starting to ramble. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, that you want to, kind of, oh, heck, how am I trying
maximize an area?
Yeah, there you go.
Learning area. That makes
Don't
sense.
get spun out and run all over the place. You never do those tournaments.
Right. Well, I would venture to say that there's probably a winning bag, especially, you can speak to Norman, in every creek arm in Norman, right? Like, you could win out of dang near every spot.
There's times, a perfect example when I was talking about the shad spawn. The first place that happens is at the lower end of the lake, and it's like a wave. It moves up to the top. So they're catching them on top water, and sometimes the first week of March on the lower end of Norman, we're still throwing jerk baits up in the river in the upper end of Norman. But then by April, it's to the shad spawn's moved its way up the lake. It's kind of done on the lower. I mean, you can still get a few bites, but then the mid section of the lake is good. And then the last place that the shad spawn is the farthest place up in May, up towards the river. So it's like a wave.
Right.
Our lake. So it's kind of like, in our little 25, 30 boat tournaments, when somebody catches them, you're like, oh, that's a lower end guy. Oh, that's a river guy. Oh, because it's so big, we all can't fish the whole area.
Right.
There's people like Shane LaHue that trick us. He could be anywhere. Yeah. I'm known to be a river rat. That kind of, it's kind of, because, so you kind of start feeling, it's funny. Some of the same people will win in October. Then the same people will win in November. Then the same kind of 5 or 6 people will win in December. And it's probably like that across all tournaments across the country, not just, in the elite series, in all series.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, there was a funny question about James Watson. I mean, he's notorious for doing good in fall tournaments. You know, there's people that are really good in fall and they struggle at other times, and vice versa.
I've always thought the Classic, and this is, I'm with the NPFL, but, the Classic, I always thought they should move it around. They should have the Classic in March. They should.
I do too.
The summer, they should have it in the fall and the winter.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
Certain people are good at certain times of the year, and I've never been good when fish are in transition. I hate fishing in the cold, but I always did good in the cold, and I do good in the summer. But I'm really not that good in this when they move from the winter pattern to the summer to the spring pattern, and then they either got to be in full winter pattern, full spring pattern, full summer pattern. I suck in transition.
Yeah.
Always struggled. I haven't figured out at all. I don't know. It's just an angler. It's always puzzled me.
Yeah, that's some of the toughest times of the fish for sure.
Yeah.
Pre-spawn and then in the fall when those fish start moving around, it's hard to track them down.
Anyway.
Oh, we got one last question. This is
Okay.
Last question for Tater. What % of Gabe's fishing mojo comes from his goatee? I don't know. Am I supposed to answer that? I'll answer it. I'd say 50%. I'm going to go right in the middle, 50%. Yeah. I don't know, man.
The longer it gets, the more that percentage increases.
My daughter was like, I wonder what's underneath there. And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. It's been, I said, I do know it's going to be super white. If I was to shave this whole area will be just like a baby's butt, just bright white, because it has not seen sunshine for many moons for sure, or many suns.
Oh, you had it.
Oh man, it's like a 90s model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've known him all from like since I was 10 or 12 years old, and I've never known him without one.
Yeah. It's been around. It's part of the family now.
Yeah. It's the better part of 20 some odd years. So.
Right. So, well, man, let's wrap this up. Any shout outs or anything you want to spit out before we wrap it up?
I could give a shout out to I'll say hi to my wife, say hi to all my friends, family that sees this later. You guys are is it gonna be reposted?
Yeah. I'll send you a link to it and you can share it on social if you want.
And maybe I'll get more. Maybe I'll get up to 200 followers.
I think you're gonna do it.
How many subscribers do you have to make money? Like 10 cents?
You get like just pennies on the ads. It's all about like getting views and stuff. Yeah.
I'm really, that was a joke. I'm really not trying to make money on my YouTube. Somebody was like, you should do more YouTube stuff. I'm like, it's so complicated. I don't have time.
Dude, it's so much work. It takes so much work.
I got a buddy that has 2,000. You guys would have had 10,000. He has like 2,000 subscribers, and his videos are good. He edits it and stuff. I said, well, what'd you make last month? $60. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money for all the work that you just
It's tough. You got to be like a Blockit or Stephen or Milliken. You know, those guys are making some money.
You want to say something controversial, and maybe you can just.
That's probably the easiest way.
Looking at right now. Wake up, Todd. Everybody here's tired. They're all sleeping.
Who you rooming with?
I'm rooming with Hayden Ham. Hold on, I'm gonna get together. Hey,
nobody's sleeping now.
That was a terrible whistle.
Lane, he wanted to be on here.
Should have brought him on earlier.
Hold
on. Late night, THM.
After hours.
We're knocking on the door. Whoa.
No underwear shots.
Unlock the door. Here's my roommates.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
How you doing, man?
Good.
Cameraman.
I'm the cameraman for Hayden.
Okay.
They're all tired.
Much respect. Much respect to the cameraman.
I'm here with Lane Olson, Hayden Hammond, and Ben the cameraman.
Ben the cameraman. Okay.
Yeah. Hayden did really well last year in the first event at Pickwick. He's only How old is Hayden Todd? Is 18? He was 17 years old and got a check in his first tournament in the NPFL.
Awesome.
So
we
is Ben the cameraman filming for the NPFL, or is he filming for somebody's?
Ben's filming. He's doing social media for Hayden.
Okay. Cool. Good deal.
Oh, here's Lane. He don't want to be on camera. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey, man, thanks for hanging out with us, and good luck, man. Good luck to the next couple of days, and good luck for the rest of the season.
All right, I'll see you, buddy.
All right,
See you
adios. All right, it's bedtime. That was fun, man. Thanks for hanging out. We still got some people on here. I really appreciate it. That was fun. That was interesting getting to meet. It's like my brain's fried.
Big shout out to Big Al for setting
shout
us
out
all
to
up.
Big Al. Yeah. Follow the NPFL. If you guys have not familiar with the NPFL, go
Fix
give them
TV.
a watch, man. Go give them a watch. They're gonna be rolling
I
Thursday.
think it's on Fix TV, PH, YX TV, or I believe they also live stream on their Facebook page, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get Big Al back on here for a full stream sometime. He's a very interesting character. He's MC for the NPFL, also for Anglers in Action Team Trail. Just a good guy.
Well, it's cool to spotlight some of these anglers too.
Right.
You know that NPFL is still fairly new. I mean, it's in its infancy, so a lot of these folks aren't getting the publicity.
Phil, make sure you go subscribe to Tater's channel. We're trying to get him up over 300. So I think he's at 293 or
193. I think he said. So we're trying to get him 200.
Let's get him to 200. Let's go for 300, man. Let's go for 300.
Are we gonna do a show next week?
This
depends on.
Stay tuned next week. JB and I are heading down to Bull Shows. We're gonna hang out with Del Coven and Gail Julian and Jordan Cecil for a couple days. So not sure if we're gonna be back in time to do a show.
It all depends on how the fishing goes.
Yeah, all depends on how the fishing goes. But we'll definitely keep you
I'm
updated
excited.
on social media. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just sitting in the back of the boat and
not having to worry about it.
Not having to worry about it.
Being pampered.
Big Bass Bash. That's right. Al's Big Bass Bash MC. He's got his toes in a lot of stuff. I don't know. Is the channel just Tater Hog? It might be. Tater Hog. Is it Custom Lures?
I'm gonna go look it up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe I'm not gonna look it up.
Are you looking it up?
I don't know.
No?
No home servers down here.
Oh, yeah. Around the country.
Country and then the basement.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it, man. Thanks, everybody. We will see you either next time or the time after that.
Keep your lines wet.